Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Below Grade Level. Tell your parents you're going to a sleepover.
You can always count on me, and I can count on you. Good times, bad times in between, my friends will see me through. We'll be sharing wonderful times every day. All together singing our song, growing in every way. Say hello to your friends, Babysitters Club. Say hello to the people who care.
Welcome to Below Grade Level, the show where we take the books that we read as children and read them as adults and ruin them. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Eaton. With me as always are Bekah Eaton.
Hello.
And Chris Zaleski.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest. First time on Below Grade Level, but not the first time on a podcast with us.
That's right.
It's very confusing. But John Walker is here.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Well, he had read before with us.
He
and
had.
I believe it was a Babysitters Club book at the time.
Have,
It
have I
was.
been repackaged yet?
You were?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So as of
Just kidding. I'm
well,
wrong.
if you are if
For
you're,
us, it's in the past.
if you are
but for you,
it's
it's in
kinda
the
like
future.
Lost.
Did I open the curtain too much?
Both timelines exist.
Yeah. We're in the we're
The worst timeline.
We're,
is where
we're
we are.
in purgatory now. Yeah. So if you are someone that we know, probably one of our two friends who listen to This Is 65, the podcast, our old show. If you listen to all of that, shit,
You're down to two. When I used to come on, you guys said 5 or 6 oftentimes.
we're down
It's-
to two.
it's-
We're down to like one.
We've had some follow up.
Yeah.
I really got to hire a publicist to keep me away from these
But yeah,
non-opportunities.
you
I moved away.
were on that show a couple times. I think we did a couple episodes with
Yes.
you. But as far as Below Grade Level, our new show where we are reading books, this is your first time.
Right. It's my first time, but I will stress it was a Babysitters Club book that I did read. I think maybe
Mhm.
two sections. I don't think it was of the same book, but I do think I was on 2 episodes where we read.
Yeah. And I remember having a lot of fun.
Well, I remember running out of voices.
I
that could do.
I remember specifically the episode title came from
Yes.
a section you read where someone had a bunch of like food in their mouth and they said "Have you a fufa" or something like that.
Yes.
And like, boy, we had a lot of fun with that one. So
Those were the days.
we are reading Babysitters Club #1, Kristy's Great Idea.
Who wrote it?
And it's written by Anne M. Martin.
It took you a surprising amount of time to find
Well,
the
I was,
author's
like,
name on
looking-
there.
So I was like looking down here.
It was written by Kristy.
It's written by
a great
Kristy's
idea.
Great Idea.
It's written by
It's
Scholastic.
written by Zaleski, yeah. It's
What year did this book come out?
Oh, I don't. Fuck. It's a great idea. That's a great question.
That is a great idea to check.
Let's see.
For
Your
the
years are a great idea.
Copyright 1986.
Oh, yeah.
This is as old as you.
Yeah, it
and
is.
you.
Yep.
And I will stress that the youngest I could have been reading this book would have been 13.
Yeah.
So there's no way that I could have had even if I had
So do you
been
remember
like rushing to the
13-year-old John
booksellers,
reading?
if I'd been rushing to B. Dalton's at Century Plaza Mall to get this hot new book, The
Walden's?
Babysitters Club, I would have been sort of aging out of it maybe at 13 as a boy.
Did boys read
I don't
this
think-
ever?
No,
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
No.
But I will say that a lot of these series of books, the big ones, Goosebumps and Babysitters Club,
Mhm.
when I worked at a library in the youth department, I was struck by these books. They all had come along after I was at that age where I would have probably devoured them,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't think there were, I'm not saying there weren't series of
You
books
just had
for
like the
kids when I was a
boxcar
kid,
children.
but there
didn't
was a
you?
lot less.
Yeah.
And you guys are probably old enough to remember the sort of like the fact that there's a lot of entertainment now that's directed at kids,
Mhm.
Yeah.
sort of unabashedly. There wasn't that same amount of stuff. So I
I
will say
imagine
Babysitters
you-
Club doesn't have any nostalgic value for me for that reason. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. These you said that the books we read as kids.
Yeah.
I didn't read these books.
Well, and
as
we're
kids.
also like,
What books did you read as a kid?
David Copperfield.
Because I remember reading books when
Of
I was
Mice
a
and
kid
Men.
that were like kind of random feeling one-offs, like Anne of Green Gables and like that kind of stuff. Was that around?
Growing up in Alabama, nothing but the good book, just the good news.
Oh boy.
The Times?
No, I don't know. I like the Oz books. I like those. I was a big fan of anything with talking animals in it. So I read
Okay.
like Miss
Animal
Frisbee and
Farm?
the Rats of Nim. Yeah, I was kind of tricked into reading Animal Farm. I thought this is a bit of a downer. But no,
Rats of
Watership
Nim's a
Down
good book.
is probably my favorite book of all time. So that was
Okay.
one I read when I was a kid.
Oh,
But
wow.
and then I think when I hit like 12 or 13, it was Stephen King. It was the beginning of
Oh,
reading
wow.
kind of more.
Ooh, that's young. I
adult
feel like
stuff.
to read Stephen.
Oh, but it was a great rite of
I
passage.
only just started
Yeah.
reading Stephen King as an adult, and I'm like, woof, this is strong stuff.
I was a
Yeah.
hooky kid who couldn't sleep after anything. Like if anything, like if somebody said "boo," I would be like, for weeks up at night pondering the meaning of "boo."
Remember that
Um,
kid who said boo? Shit.
But so my parents didn't let me watch horror movies or read scary books. But I had a friend in 7th grade, this girl Ashley, who did read those books, and we would on the phone. She would read Stephen King short stories to me.
Oh my
That
God.
is
That's adorable.
so adorable.
It really is adorable.
And frightening.
Yes, it
That
was.
is adora frightening.
But so yes, I was, and I think I'm stressing that I think that at that time there was almost like this when I was 10 or 11. It was like everybody wanted to be a teenager, everybody wanted to be grown up,
Oh, yeah.
so we didn't
Mhm.
have as much catering done to us, and that forced us to sort of, look at what the older kids were doing and kind of like almost like in a rush to be
Interesting.
like when you were 10 or 11, you were sort of you were lying to your friends about having made it with all these girls and stuff like that because it was just like we're supposed to be on that schedule.
See, I feel like when I was like 10 or 11 is when like Goosebumps was coming out, and that's when I was really. So I definitely was super into Goosebumps.
You sweet summer child, you had goosebumps to keep you out of trouble.
I did.
I was out on the streets.
I was a
Lying about making it with girls.
Yeah,
I was a pure Catholic school boy.
Lying about making it with girls and like going to find the 6-pack that some friend's older brother who had a fake ID had like hidden behind the garage for us or whatever.
I was very sheltered. I was a very sheltered kid.
I was a pretty sheltered kid, but I'm just saying we really had to go.
Yeah.
You had to find your own
You had
fun.
to look
We
for
did still
entertainment.
light
And
a
they
lot
were
of
like,
shit on fire,
Jonathan,
though.
I wrote a bunch of books about monsters for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, monsters. But then, also I did still light stuff on fire. So
Yeah.
that still happened.
Well, who didn't?
We talked about last time. We didn't talk about last time, but last time we said this time what we were going to do is talk about our babysitting experience.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
curious.
what I want to do before we get into
Mhm.
this, and I don't want to take like a ton of time before we actually start reading, but I want to start with you, Bekah.
Yes.
And what is your babysitting experience?
I've only babysat once in my entire life.
Oh my god.
It was for my cousins Jimmy and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
It was uneventful.
They're both adults now.
They're both adults now.
They made it.
One of them just graduated
job.
from college. The other one is just going into college. It's insane.
Take credit for it.
Yeah.
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 I
It's
raised
'cause
them.
it's 'cause
I
of
gave
the
them a lot of
babysitting
great
stuff.
lessons. It definitely wasn't just really awkward.
Do you remember anything about the babysitting experience?
I remember it just being kind of awkward because it's like we're not really hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
You're like watching them.
And like I think I'm 10. Wait, how old is Jeju now?
He's got to be like 22.
I'm like 11. Yeah, I think I'm 11 years older than my oldest cousin of that group. So, like, we were kind of close in age, but not quite close enough in age to, like, really hang out or anything.
Yeah.
So it was just me and my sister and then my two cousins. And we were just like, we have nothing in common because we're two girls and you're two young boys. So I think we just played some computer games.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember it being pretty awkward.
Okay.
And thinking, I don't love this.
You weren't like inspired to form a club.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
you were like, what is my role in this?
Yes, let me have more of this.
I would like to be stenographer.
Yeah.
Chris, babysitting.
Well, I've been an uncle since I was 11,
Mhm.
so I have the same different age difference with my
Mhm.
nephew as you do with your cousin, and it's like I didn't really have a choice because I was a minor and didn't have a car or a job
Uh-huh.
and wasn't paid for it. It was just like, oh, you're here. Watch your nephew.
Servitude.
We have more important crap to do. And they genuinely did. It was never like, oh, here, just watch him.
Yeah.
And I would actually tell my friends, like, oh, nope, can't come outside and play. Got to babysit my nephew. This would be like when everyone was home. So even when I didn't even have to babysit, I'd be like, I'm babysitting. And then as getting older, the last time I genuinely babysat was my niece was still in diapers. And her older brother, my nephew, who I was just talking about, might have been 8, maybe,
Mhm.
or maybe 7. I forget their age difference because I'm a horrible uncle. But like she had just shat
You guys can edit that part out.
everywhere, just
Believe me.
shit everywhere. And I told my sister, I was like, I am not babysitting again until she's potty trained. So, and I have a job now, so Fuck you.
I don't need this. John, babysitting experience?
You know, I did it once with my cousin. I was up in South Carolina visiting my cousin. I think I was probably 13. And it was sort of a deal that was made. They had a neighborhood family that his family did a lot of stuff with, and they were all going to do something, I think, or at least all the adults and the older kids, teens, were busy that night.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin and I were asked to watch the young son of that neighboring family, who was maybe 3 or something like that. So that was really the only time that I've ever babysat. And we pretty much stuck him in a crib and then watched zombie movies. And I think we got in trouble because he was in there at some point. He saw something that he came in there and saw what we were watching or something, or either that or he was in the crib screaming for help, and we didn't come. It was
You
not
guys head tangled around something.
I don't even know, but it was not a good showing. And I did like those movies at the time, though. So that was a good memory, watching those zombie movies with my cousin on New Year's Eve.
All right.
Should have been spending more time paying attention to the little boy that was in our.
You probably turned out
In
fine.
your care.
Yeah,
I did show my
yes.
nephew his first Tarantino movie.
Oh, nice.
I
Which one?
took him to see Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, fantastic. You're a
He's
good
a
uncle.
teenager.
Yeah, you're a good uncle.
Did you like it?
Yeah, he loved it.
Okay.
I have no babysitting experience. I never babysat, but I was also the youngest. So like I was the one being babysat by my older brother. Usually.
You've been podcasting with this guy all these years, and you don't consider that babysitting? I
Well,
mean, am I right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That part's true.
Doesn't count when you're their kid.
Yeah, I mean, like I have 2 older brothers, but my older brother Anthony, who's 7 years older than me, was the one who would be babysitting me. Basically, like I wasn't left alone until I was, I don't know, like 12, I guess, probably something like that. So like he would watch me if someone needed to watch me. And that was that's a terrible idea because like we would just get into trouble no matter what. Like he wasn't a babysitter, he was just my older brother. So like I remember my mom leaving she went to like visit a friend one time, I think in Chicago, and she was gone for like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So Anthony was in charge, and just like all hell broke loose. And
What things did you break?
a glass bowl because we were trying to thaw some ground beef because we were going to make burgers, but it was just frozen and we were like hungry. So we put the ground beef in a glass bowl, and we put the glass bowl on top of a pot with boiling water in it. And then we were just jamming a wooden spoon into it, trying to break it up. And eventually the heat and the jamming caused the glass to just shatter. So then there was just broken glass and ground beef and boiling water.
Nice.
And then I think we probably got a pizza. So that was my experience being babysat.
Was there a lot of like, don't tell mom?
Oh yeah, on both sides.
Did you find out about the bowl?
She found out about everything. She found out about everything. We were so stupid. We could never hide anything from her. She would walk outside and be like, "Who shot a BB at my statue?" We're like, "What? How did you see that?" It was Anthony. So anyway, we are.
Was it Anthony?
It wasn't. It actually was Anthony that time. that one was Anthony. Although I did knock the head off of the statue with a crab net.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't have a net on it, so it was basically just a long metal pole with a hoop at the end.
Were you trying to catch dinosaurs?
No, if you looked at it, it looks like a gigantic dart.
Okay.
So you threw it,
Of course you did.
and then, Anthony threw it a bunch of times successfully, getting a really nice spin on it, and then me, being the younger brother, I'm like, let me do it, and I threw it, and immediately just, like, destroyed a statue outside.
How many statues did your family have?
My mom has a lot of statues in her backyard. I have to move them all tomorrow. Anyway. We're getting off topic. Chapter 6. So let's go clockwise. I'll start. So John, you can kind of follow our lead.
Were
But
you gonna play the music for the background or no?
oh yeah, I forgot
You don't
about
have
that.
We should just start.
We'll just
You
start.
can put it in post.
I'll put it in post.
Don't
So
you guys love this music we're listening
Isn't
to
it
right now?
super good? It's
So
so
great.
good.
It's
So
very thematic.
here's who the characters are on the top, and on the bottom is the voices that we are doing for the characters.
Okay, well.
So
By
so-
we, he means the two of them,
and you gotta do
and
it too.
not I.
Becca will do what she wants to do.
Yes.
Chapter 6. On Wednesday afternoon, I raced home from school and made a frantic search of the front yard for our copy of the Stony Brook News. I found it under a peony bush in the garden.
A pea on me?
I
bush?
thought it said penny, I thought she had found the Stony Brook News under a penny, and then I saw the word bush after it, and I knew something was wrong.
What do you mean, peony?
Peony.
Peony.
I threw my things on the ground, and I sat right down in the middle of the yard and leafed through the paper until I found the advertising section. And sure enough, the 5th ad from the bottom in the 3rd column was ours. Not great. Not good visibility. This is what it looked like. The Babysitters Club. Need a babysitter? Make one call. Reach 4 sitters. 4 as in the number 4. I feel like that's confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, not reach for sitters.
Not in the Prince
but it's
way
reach
of
for
standing in for the
so
word.
she-
for.
Make
like,
one
because
call,
there's
you reach 4
there's
sitters.
Yes,
four
make
sitters.
one
You
call,
reach
reach
four
for
sitters.
sitters. I'm saying it right now. Bad tagline. Like, it's
I
bad.
didn't find that
That's
confusing.
the whole point.
It just sounds a little creepy if you read it the other way that
Like,
you're reaching
reach for
for a
sitters.
sitter.
If you're reading it, if you're hearing it out loud, I can understand the
Uh-huh.
confusion, but like looking at it on paper, it makes sense.
Okay, I guess it's a print
Four
ad.
sitters.
It's okay. Call 555-FAKE-3231. Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, 5:30 to 6:30. Oof, those are some
It's just 5:30 to 6.
narrow hours. 5:30 to 6?
Yeah, you got 30 minutes.
You got 30 minutes to get a fucking babysitter, so you better get those calls in, assholes. We'd wanted to include more information in the ad when we, like, what our roles were in our stupid club. But when we called the newspaper,
don't
we
need to
found
know
out that they had
minutia.
charged you per line to run the ad. God.
That seems standard.
It does. I saw Three Amigos. I know how this works.
Our little ad was already pretty expensive, and we'd used our entire first week's club dues to pay for it. Still, the ad was awfully exciting. It was fun being in the newspaper. Hey, Kristy, what are you doing? Claudia came running across our lawn, her knapsack jouncing against her back. Jouncing?
What is it?
Jouncing.
What?
Her knapsack jouncing against
It
her
has
back.
to be a typo. That has to be bouncing.
Look, I exclaimed, here it is, our ad. Oh, let me see. Claudia dropped to her knees beside me and I jabbed at the ad. Wow, now if we can just finish handing around those flyers today, we might actually get some calls on Friday. I know, I felt like squealing and jumping up and down. Let's get Marianne to help us. Okay, I said, and Stacy. No, she's busy this afternoon. This is riveting. She told me so at school today. What's she doing? Don't know. Come on, are you ready? Let me just put my books inside, I said, and see if Kathy got here. She's babysitting for David Michael today. Oh, right. She has a brother named David Michael.
The most Catholic name in the world.
Kathy and David Michael were playing Candyland on the back porch, so I grabbed the last of the flyers from my desk and ran outside to Claudia.
David Michael O'Halloran.
McGill.
Miguel.
There we are.
Stacy McGill.
Wait.
No, Christy. Sorry, Christy McGill.
Oh, wait. Stacy McGill sounds right, though. What's Christy's last name?
Oh, I'm going to say O'Halloran.
It's not O'Halloran.
Christison. I only have 5 left, I said. Wait, hold on.
Oh.
It doesn't say who's saying. Okay, there we go. I've got 6 more. We found Marianne, who also had 6 left, and we took off on our bicycles for Quinton Court, which is a few streets away from Stacy's house. There, we put the last of the flyers in mailboxes. Done, I said to Claudia and Marianne. They grinned at me. Now I guess we just sit back and wait for calls. Right. Right. 2 days later, the members of the Babysitters Club gathered eagerly in Claudia's bedroom, even though the flyers said for clients to call us between 5:30 and 6.
I bet her bedroom looks like Lydia Dietz's.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We all managed to show up early. I was the first person there. I knocked on Claudia's bedroom door, which now had an official-looking sign on it reading, The Babysitters Club. Hours, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30 to 6.
I don't know about these voices. We'll just have to see what happens here.
Just follow your heart.
If I get swept up in the moment,
Yeah.
I'm looking at a list here. So riffraff. Help me out with riffraff.
Yeah.
Time is fleeting.
Where's riffraff from?
Rocky Horror.
Oh, see?
The master will be
Cultural blind
expecting
spot
you.
for me, that Rocky Horror is.
Wait, what? Have you seen it? You've seen it, right?
I've seen it, but I've never seen it the way that I think you're supposed to
You
have
haven't,
the
you haven't
experience.
seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen it with people that I would want to see it with.
See, I haven't seen it like
You should
I.
watch it with us, because we just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys throw toast at the screen or
We
whatever?
don't. Like, we don't
we
do.
don't like yell things
Yeah,
or
we
whatever.
don't
fuck.
do all of that
no
shit.
water guns are involved.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just do this.
Really,
is
it's
my-
mostly just like, I love this part. I love this part.
Yeah.
I love this part.
Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Meatloaf's in it. Now he's not.
So give me a reference again.
Spoiler alert.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
Or Jane from Daria.
She doesn't
Oh
sound.
no.
Claudia's like the artsy one.
Okay.
She's like the weird artsy one.
Come in, called Claudia. That's what I think artsy people sound
Kristy
like.
Thomas. Sorry. I
Kristy
looked it up.
Thomas,
It was
all right.
driving me crazy.
It was only 4:30 when I entered her room. That's precisely 1 hour before the
Shit.
appropriate calling
She
time.
better get ready.
For the Babysitters Club. But I found her sitting cross-legged on the bed with the phone in her lap, one hand clutching the receiver.
Jesus.
A Ouija board in the other.
Right, exactly. She had watched a video 7 days before. The phone's not going to run away, you know, I greeted her. Claudia grinned sheepishly. I know. I'm just so excited. Actually, I was too. So am I. I squealed suddenly. Wait, I squealed. Suddenly. So am I! I dashed across the room and jumped on her bed. I've been waiting all week for today to come. What do you think will happen? Oh, this has just got to work. I know we'll have some customers. We'll have customers, won't we? I grabbed the phone from Claudia and held it in my lap.
Ooh. Whoa.
There's tension.
Oh, there definitely is.
Can't wait for
between
this to
them.
ring.
A knock came at the door. It couldn't be a customer.
No, it couldn't, you dumb bitch.
Could it? Claudia and I glanced at each other. They didn't look at each other. They took a quick, quick glance.
glance.
It's probably Mary Ann, I said. Oh, right, Claudia answered. Come in. The door opened. It was Janine. Ugh, gross. My stomach dropped down around my knees. Janine cleared her throat.
Oh, wait. I think
Oh,
that's
Janine's
Claudia's
Claudia's sister. The Mensa person.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's the description if you need one.
Smart.
She's like a super perfect smart bitch.
Ahem, she said. I've been studying your sign from out here in the hall. I'm going to give you a clean read on that. From out here in the hall. And I'm wondering if possibly you've made a mistake.
A grammar mistake.
I bet it is.
Do we move this?
I bet she fucked
Oh, no,
up
no.
with
That's
the
just, yeah.
punctuation.
I love your Kristy voice. 'Cause, I don't know if you played Borderlands at all, but it just makes me think like, and that's when I found the first vault. I'm Typhon de Leon.
I hate him.
Oh my god.
I fucking hate him.
He's one of the only characters I like.
I leaped up and ran over to the sign. I couldn't see a thing wrong with it. Babysitters was spelled correctly. Claudia had remembered the double T.
Wait, let me look at it. I want to see if I could spot the error.
Babysitters. Double T. Love that diner.
No, I mean the sign. I want to look at the
She'd got... Oh.
Yeah, let's look
from
at
the
it.
previous
The
page.
previous page. There we go. Oh, wait. No. This is this a sign? There we go. The Babysitters Club. Hours. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30 to 6:30. It's probably some bullshit like
It might be an apostrophe.
yeah, it's probably some like
Is there an apostrophe on the title of the book?
No.
No.
No, okay, then maybe not.
It's just Janine being Janine.
Yeah, Janine's just being a bitch. She'd gotten all the abbreviations right too. I put my hands on my hips. What? I asked. Well, began Janine primly, I'm not entirely sure you have made a mistake. I'm trying to decide whether you need an apostrophe after the word babysitters. You see, without an apostrophe, the word is simply plural, meaning the club consisting of the several or many babysitters. This is in the book.
No.
The
Whatever. I love Janine.
the
Janine's my
apostrophe after the S would make the word possessive, meaning the club belonging to the several or many babysitters. Now, either way could be right, but I'm not sure whether...
This is definitely the kind of thing you cover in book one.
Yeah.
What is, what's Stacy sound
Any
like?
punctuation questions should be settled.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Stacy.
Is-
Stacy!
Jenna from 30 Rock.
Stacy!
Jenna's the one that's really fat, or Stacy is the one that's really fashionable.
Okay. Now, no, either way could be right, but I'm not sure whether... Hello, everybody! Stacy's voice rang up through the stairwell like the welcome sound of a boat's horn on a foggy night.
Is that a welcome sound?
Saved! I said under my breath. Hi, Stace! Stacy ran up the stairs and
I guess if you're floating in the open
Yeah, right.
water.
And we should specify where you are.
spirited into her spirited
an eerie sound.
spirited her into Claudia's bedroom, and I closed the door behind us, leaving Janine out in the hall puzzling over the apostrophe mystery. Marianne arrived a few minutes later, luckily without running into Janine. Jesus.
Spin-off book,
Christ.
Janine and the apostrophe mystery.
I'd read that. Do you want to point the back to me?
I do want to.
Okay. It was 5:05. The four of us sat on Claudia's bed. Nobody said a word. At 5:10, Claudia got up, took a shoebox labeled
Shook a shit.
took a shit and a shoebox labeled sneakers out of her closet.
Form words. I'm sorry.
Opened it and handed around some jawbreakers. As usual, Stacy refused. At 5:25, I began staring at my watch, following the minute hand around and around. 5:26, 5:27, 5:28,
Remember life without the
5:29.
No.
When you just stared at watches.
When you stared at
When you
watches.
stared at analog watches. At exactly 5:30, the phone rang. I screamed, "Oh no, I don't believe it!" cried Marianne. Claudia spit out her jawbreaker. I'll answer it, she shrieked. She jerked up the receiver and said politely, "Good afternoon, Babysitters Club." Then she made a face and handed me the phone. "Kristy, it's your mother." I spit out my jawbreaker too. Why are you spitting candy on the floor? Fuck.
Splorch.
Mom, I exclaimed as soon as I got on the phone. These are our business hours. You're not supposed to. What? You do? Do you think that's a Ghostbusters reference?
You have?
Oh,
they're very
I calmed-
discreet.
Please hold for a moment. I put my hand over the receiver. Mom needs a sitter for David Michael, I cried. Kathy can't come next Wednesday.
Wasn't that Janine in the Ghostbusters?
It
movie?
was.
It was.
Janine.
Is this an origin story for
It
Janine?
is, yeah.
Everyone suppressed
She was
shrieks.
like, ooh, that line read Kristy did.
I've got our appointment book right here, said Claudia. Now let's see. Marianne, you have to go to the dentist that day, and I have art class. That leaves you. Claudia pointed at me. And Stacy. What should we do? Just another sec, Mom, I said. I hadn't really thought about what to do if several of us were available for the same job. Well, I began. He's your brother. You should get the
I
job.
was just gonna say.
But if you took it, you'd get to know some other people in the neighborhood. You'd probably meet Sam and Charlie. They're my big brothers. Brothers?
Why don't you just introduce your friend to your fucking brothers?
Yeah.
Stacy's eyes lit up. Boys. But what are you going to do while I babysit? Hang around and watch?
/ come over and fuck my brother.
Well, I hope I'll have another job, I said huffily. You take the job, Stacy. I don't want my first Babysitters Club client to be my own mother. Okay, if you're sure, Stacy said slowly. Then she grinned. Thanks. No problem, I said. I took my hand off the receiver. Mom, Stacy will babysit for David Michael on Wednesday. The usual time, right?
This will be seamless. Okay. Hey, where are you calling from anyway? Oh, the office. Claudia elbowed me. Quit tying up the line. I don't even remember the voice. Quit tying up the line. Someone else might be trying to get through. I nodded.
You sound like Typho.
Mom, I have to get off. I'll see you in a little while. Okay. Okay. Bye. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Claudia gave me a look that said, I told you so. Oh, boy. Everybody can do that look, right?
Yeah. It's this one.
Yeah. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. It helps if you're holding a drink.
Seems rather forward.
Or there's just the blank one, right? I mean, this is an audio format, but where when you know you're right and they know you're right, and you just look at me and just go,
Wait, you look at me like that all the time.
I like
I'm
it.
right all the time.
If it's a really big one, you can throw in a.
Oh, yeah.
Throw the
I
hands
do
up.
that a lot. I do the hands.
Yeah, it's like-
I'm Italian.
I'm Italian.
I do this at
Come
work.
on.
Usually in dismay, I go with the inhale.
Well, Claudia does it all with a look. I told you so.
Well, she's very
Marianne.
sophisticated.
Mhm.
Oh, Marianne is
She's a nerd.
just a nerd. Can I answer it? Marianne asked. Sure, I said. There's a lot of different. Sure, I said. Arr. Marianne
hobbled.
picked up the phone. Good afternoon, Babysitters Club, she said. There was a long pause. I think you have the wrong number. There's no Jim Bartolini here. She hung up. At 5:42, the phone rang for the third time.
I'm looking for the babysitter, Jim Bartolini. He's the best.
And I won't take no for an answer. We all looked at each other. You get it, Kristy, Marianne said. I don't know what voice I'm doing anymore. You're the president. Okay. Hello, Babysitters Club. Yes, just a moment, please. I put my hand over the mouthpiece. Do any of you know a Mrs. McKeever? She lives up on Quinton Court. The girls shook their heads. What's she got? Asked Claudia.
What's she
Herpes.
got?
2 kids, Buffy and Pinky, I replied.
Are you serious?
Oh, I can't wait to
Wait
meet
a
those
minute.
kids. I bet they're rich as fuck.
Are they kids or dogs?
Please tell me you pulled those names
Or
out of your
mice.
ass.
They're shih tzus.
Yeah, they're Shih Tzus. They're two.
Oh my god.
They're,
Visual
they're
confirm
two
on-
purebred Shih Tzus.
They both have bows in their hair.
2 kids, Buffy and Pinky, I replied. Buffy and Pinky, cried Stacy. Buffy and Pinky? They can't believe it.
Buffy?
And Pinky.
Shh. I warned her. I keep forgetting.
It looked like you were shushing Bekah because she was knitting too loud.
How old are they? Marianne wanted to know. I don't know. Hold on. Hello? Mrs. McKeever? We need a little information, please. How old are Buffy and Pinky? And where did you get those names?
And
Why
how
are
do you
they
want us
named
to
that?
kill them?
And are they dogs? Oh, okay. I turned back to the members of my club. She says they're 3. They must be twins.
I
When does
really hope they're dogs.
They're definitely dogs. When does she need a sitter? Asked Marianne. Wednesday afternoon. Oh, I guess I'm the only one who's free then. I suddenly realized I was dying for a new client anyway. I accepted the job and I took down the information.
What preteen isn't dying for
I
a
was
job?
dying for a job. I needed a referral.
Oh, I just want a new client.
I accepted the job and I took down the information I needed. Then Mrs. McKeever asked me a zillion questions about myself. She wanted to know how old I was and how much experience I had had and that sort of thing. Had I ever kissed a boy? Did I like girls? Had I smoked any weed yet? What kind of alcohol do I like?
Wait, I don't remember. How old are they?
An age.
Did they establish
Babysitting
it?
You
age.
gotta be like 12,
10, 12,
12, 13.
preteens.
That's what I'm going for, maybe. When I hung up the phone, I said to Marianne, "Hey, secretary. Hey, Toots. You've got to record these jobs in the appointment book." "Oh, right." I handed her the book and she got right to work. The next 2 calls were from the next 2 calls were for Jim Bartolini. Claudia was growing exasperated. "Boy, this is weird," she said. "I've gotten wrong numbers before, but no one's ever asked for Jim Bartolini. Certainly not 3 no ones."
In my head, the person calling for Jim Bartolini is like Jackie Mason. Like, no, I'm telling you right now, I want Jim Bartolini.
talk to Jim
Best babysitter.
Hold on.
No, essentially Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
to talk to Jim Bartolini.
Jim Bartolini is in the top 1% of all babysitters.
Here's
That I
a
want to talk
question.
to.
Here's a question. Do you think it was 3 different people calling for Jim Bartolini, or the same person that keeps dialing the same number for
I-
Jim
same
Bartolini?
person.
I'm saying prank call.
Okay, I guess his name's not like a pun or anything.
Didn't say it was a good prank call.
It's 1986.
At 5:55, Marianne stood up. "I better get going," she said. She pulled on her sweater and crunched loudly on her remaining bit of her jawbreaker. The phone rang. Stacy answered it and handed it to me.
Jaw.
"It's your mom again, Kristy." I rolled my eyes. "Mom," I said. "Did Kathy back out of her other afternoon too?" Oh, not me. I'm not babysitting for them. You know how I feel." "Okay, but hold on. Watson needs a babysitter for his kids again on Saturday morning. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday," I told the others. "I'm not doing it." "I'll do it," Marianne said. "I'm getting curious about them. Aren't you curious, Kristy?" I was dying to see what kind of monsters Watson had. "Not really," I said. "Sign yourself up for the job." As Marianne was about to walk out of Claudia's room, the phone rang for the 7th time at 5:30.
Christ.
I'll get it, said Marianne. One last call. Hello? What? Marianne's braids practically stood on end. It's some boy on the phone.
Wait,
The
her
dog
She
brains?
told
from,
us-
like
Or
the
her
dog
brains?
from Blondie?
Her braids
Okay.
Oh, I heard brains too.
And her brains stood on there.
shot right out of her ears. He says his name is Jim Bartolini. He wants to know if there have been any calls for him. This episode should be called Jim Bartolini.
What is happening with Jim Bartolini?
Who is this Jim Bartolini?
You're kidding, exclaimed Claudia. Oh, wait a second, I said suddenly. I grabbed the phone from Marianne. Sam, is that you? No, said the voice on the other end of the phone. It's Jim Bartolini. I was wondering if... Sam, you're
Calling
a
from
rat, I
Transylvania.
cried. This is important business. And furthermore, I'm telling. I slammed the receiver down. The nerve, said Marianne. But Claudia and Stacy began giggling. I thought it was sort of funny, said Claudia. You would, I retorted. You got bitch.
Good retort.
Oh, come on. You have to admit that was a pretty good goof call. It's better than just, is your refrigerator running or something? I guess, I said. So the first Babysitters Club office hour, or office half hour, ended on a sour note, and the evening didn't improve
Ended
much.
on a sour note. You got like 7 fucking calls in
It's-
a half hour.
It's
Well,
clearly written by a
4 of
child.
them were Jim Bartolini related.
And I'm glad we got the full 45-minute span or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the times
Every
logged.
minute was
Including
counted.
Yeah.
an hour up until the first
Yes.
phone call.
I went home and did tell Mom what Sam had done, and Sam called me a rat. And I said, I know you are, but what am I? The classic Herman defense. And Sam said, I know you are, but what am I? And I shouted, You're
I'm Jim
driving me
Bartolini."
crazy. And Sam shouted, You're driving me crazy. Hold on. I'm going to redo that. You're driving me crazy. And Mom told Sam he couldn't use the phone for an hour and sent me to my room, which suited me fine since Watson...
I just trade them.
since Watson was on his way over. That page.
Watson. Every time she says Watson, it should just be like, Watson.
Watson. Shortly before Mom and Watson left on another date, I was allowed to leave my room to take a phone call. It was Claudia. I just got a job, she said. Miss Newton called. She needed a sitter for tomorrow, so I took the job. Mrs. Newton?
Mrs. Fig Newton?
That's great, Claude, I said, but I hung up the phone feeling pretty low. I usually sit for Jamie. I usually sit for Jamie. God damn it. Claudia should have told the other club members when a job was offered, not just taking it herself.
That bitch.
Claudia doesn't seem to know the protocol. Just because the phone number was hers didn't mean she got first crack at every job that came along. And how come Mrs. Newton had called that number after 6 when she was probably trying to reach me? I guess people didn't pay much attention to hours and phone numbers around here in Fucktown, which was a shame considering all the trouble we'd gone to with our flyers and the newspaper ad, but I guess they ruined it and they don't care. I flashed the news. I flashed the news.
I flashed the news.
You flashed the news to Marianne at 9 o'clock, and she
Oh,
flashed
the
it.
flashlights.
No,
I forgot.
It's a
There's
Huey
some
Lewis
context
poster on her
here.
wall.
They use flashlights to talk to each other.
They learn Morse code, so they Morse code each
She
other
was
with
like-
flashlights.
Okay.
They're next to
Marianne.
Yes.
Claudia took my client.
Well, I thought, as I put it on the glass. And I went to bed that night with Louie curled at my feet. At least I've got a new client. On Wednesday, I'll get to meet Pinky and Buffy McKeever. New clients are always interesting. If only I'd had some idea just how interesting they were going to be. They're snakes.
I have a thought. So, like,
That was the end of a chapter.
Okay.
her
And
old
it felt like
client
one.
doesn't
I'm
know
in
that
suspense.
she's in the Babysitters Club.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
The client that Claudia stole doesn't know that What's-Her-Face is in the Babysitters Club. Maybe she thinks she's a shit babysitter and
Yeah.
called thinking like, oh, a Babysitters Club. Now I can stop paying this little rapscallion.
Oh boy, chapter 7. On Wednesday afternoon, I was all set for my first job through the Babysitters Club. I couldn't wait to meet Pinky and Buffy. I'd never sat for twins before. I wondered what it would be like.
There are 2 of them.
Would they play tricks on me? Were they interchangeable? And what could Pinky
Was there
and...
a street smart one and a book smart one?
What...
There always is.
What could Pinky and Buffy be nicknames for? I'd find out soon enough.
What do you guys think?
Pinkerton, Pinkarooski, and Buffalino.
All right.
I walked over to Quentin Court right after I got home from school. I left a little early just in case I had any trouble finding the McKeever's house. Mrs. McKeever had said the address was 52 Quentin Court, but I am a woman and I don't know my way around anything. So I found the side of the street with the even numbered addresses on
you just
it.
wedged that in there. I don't think that's in there.
I really don't, though, so I can't even defend myself.
I found the side of the street with the even numbered addresses on it, and I started walking. There was 22 Quentin Court.
Don't you hate when you want to be offended, Bekah,
28
and like
Quentin
you can't
Court.
because
Yeah.
of
34.
Like, all right, you got
40.
there.
46. 44? And then, sure enough, there was number 52. I stood and I looked at the house for a moment. It was a perfectly nice...
But what time was it?
It was... I looked up at the sun. It was noon. I stood and looked at the house
The
for a
wind was
moment.
going southeast at 35 miles per hour.
Humidity, 35%. It was a perfectly nice split level, painted white with neat black shutters.
Neat, as opposed to like sloppy shutters.
They're
But
like really
something-
cool looking.
There we have the pretty El Nido.
Oh shit. But something was wrong. What was it?
Hmm.
After a moment, it came to me.
Put down your knitting and read this next page.
Oh, what if it's a crossover with Goosebumps?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And the kids are fucking dead.
Did
Or
they ever
plants.
do that? Seems like they ought to have done that.
There were no signs of children.
Ooh.
See, this is straight out of Goosebumps.
Yeah.
There were no toys in the yard or tricycles in the driveway, no sneakers on the front stoop or artwork in the windows. I hope Pinky and Buffy weren't going to be boring children who wanted to spend the afternoon learning about butterflies or food groups or something.
Butterflies?
What?
What the
You
hell?
know, the children
God
that
forbid
love
the
learning
children
about food
entertain
groups.
themselves.
You know that stereotype of kids?
Oh, you're one of those butterfly kids.
Those butterfly and food group kids, huh?
My enthusiasm was beginning to wane just a little, but I took a deep breath and marched myself straight to the front door. Ding dong. Silence. No running feet or shouts like I would hear when I rang the Newton's bell.
A lot of barking, though.
After a few moments, the door was opened. A plump, pleasant-looking young woman stood on the other side of the screen, smiling. Well, I thought at least Pinky and Buffy's mother doesn't look boring. You're there to work, bitch!
Yeah. Who
You're not
cares
there
if
to be
you're
entertained.
And besides, I would say a plump, pleasant-looking person. There's nothing in there that says she's not boring.
Like, that's pretty boring.
Yeah,
That's
right.
pretty run-of-the-mill
Maybe
boring.
I can talk to her about what she eats.
Yes.
Hello, she said.
You seem well
Hi.
fed.
I'm Kristy Thomas. I'm here to babysit.
Is that why you're
for-
so pleasant?
You got any cake?
You look like you got cake.
Got that smile.
You got that cake smile.
I'm here to babysit for Pinky and Buffy, the twins. There was a pause, and then the woman said, "Yes. Won't you come in?" I
Yes.
stepped inside
The twins.
into a very pretty room, but again, something seemed wrong, and it took me a moment to figure out what it was.
Pinky and Buffy are her boobs.
Oh, no.
You gotta sit for the twins.
Then I realized Pinky and Buffy must have been
Sorry.
Pinky and Buffy must have been not only very boring 3-year-olds, but very careful 3-year-olds.
Okay, they're 3.
The reason the room
what
was so
3-year-old
pretty
is not boring.
I feel like you'd be lucky to find a boring 3-year-old.
Yeah, I know. Especially as a babysitter.
Yeah.
As a parent, you might be sort of concerned about their development.
Yeah, but
But
if you're only like 12.
yeah.
The reason the room was so pretty was because it was full of glass and china, big oriental vases, little glass statues, even plates that were displayed on delicate stands. Everything was breakable.
Chekhov's plates.
In our house, what with David Michael and footballs and baseballs and boy balls and friends coming over all the time, breakable stuff is practically
Slamming those
against
boy
the
balls
law.
into the Oriental vase.
Then I saw that the area we were standing in, the foyer and the living room, was blocked off with baby gates. That explained the china. but it didn't seem to be very nice for Pinky and Buffy. It also occurred to me that I couldn't hear any children's voices or giggling. Suddenly, I began to feel suspicious. What had I gotten myself into?
Is this turning into like CSI?
Done it again.
The McKeevers were strangers to me. Maybe I'd been lured into... No, that was silly. At breakfast that morning,
What?
when I told my mother...
Maybe I've been lured into a sex crime.
It's silly, don't worry about it. At breakfast that morning, when I told my mother where I would be after school, she just raised an eyebrow. She hadn't said, "Don't go, Kristy, we'll never see you again."
There's been a sex crime here.
I smiled brightly at the woman. "So," I said, "where are Pinky and Buffy?"
Oh, they're in the laundry room, she replied. The laundry room? Were they being punished? I'd gotten angry with David Michael a few times, but I'd never stuck him in the laundry room. Let me introduce myself, the woman went on. I am Miss Hargreaves, Mrs. McKeever's niece. Mrs. McKeever is away. This is getting complicated.
What is happening?
There are too many characters.
Mrs. McKeever is away for several days, which is why we need help with Pinky and Buffy. I have an impromptu appointment. No, I have an important appointment this afternoon. Perhaps you might say the opposite of an impromptu appointment. Scheduled long in advance.
Which
Just
is
the
why we
nature
made
of it.
accommodations ahead of time.
Some say that's an oxymoron, an impromptu appointment. But this is the kind of crazy afternoon that it is in Fucktown. Is that the name of the town?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yes.
This is why we need clubs.
I have an appointment this afternoon, and we find that we need someone with Pinky and Buffy at all times. Well, if they were only 3, what was she expecting? They're a bit unruly, Miss Hargreaves added. Oh, I said knowingly, wondering where the signs of unruliness were in this quiet house. Well, that's okay. I know all about unruly. I've got 3 brothers. Do you? I nodded. Well, let's get them out of the laundry room. They're probably ready to play. Maybe we could all take a walk to the brook. I think that was supposed to be Kristy. Hold on a second. Do you? I nodded. Well, let's go get them out of the laundry room. They're probably ready to play. Totally different tone. Maybe we could all take a walk to the brook. That would be lovely, replied Miss Hargreaves. But it might be difficult for you to manage.
What in the ever-loving fuck?
Are they hellhounds?
This next line really seems like things are getting kind of steamy here.
Oh, I've had lots of experience.
Dun, dun,
Gross.
dun.
Wink. That's fine then. Are Pinky and Buffy boys or girls? I asked. Well, it doesn't much matter, of course. It doesn't? But Buffy's a boy and Pinky's a girl?
That was
Oh, wait, no,
lady.
sorry. But
It's confusing.
it is here. But Buffy's a boy and Pinky's a girl. Oh, that's easy to remember, I said. I was trying to sound pleasant, but I already had a very bad case of the creeps. Because this is really fucked up.
It's almost like there's a misunderstanding.
Here we are, Mrs. Hargreaves announced. We were standing by a door next to the kitchen. Now, get ready. These 2 monsters of my aunts will practically break the door down, she said affectionately. My eyes opened wide. They will? Stand back. I stood back. I wished I could stand all the way back at my house. I didn't add that. That's a pretty good line. Mrs. Hargreaves opened the door. 2 huge, fluffy, drooling, barking St. Bernards hurled themselves into the hall, almost knocking over each other and Mrs. Hargreaves over.
Big ass dogs.
I shrieked. Do I have to take care of them too? 2, repeated Mrs. Hargreaves. Who else is going to help you? No, I mean, do I have to watch them plus Pinky and Buffy?
You ever seen one of them in person? St. Bernard?
Yeah,
You think
they're
you're
huge.
ready for how big they are, and you never are.
Yeah.
Like
They're
their head's the
ponies.
size of this table.
Yeah.
Come and knock on our door. Because it's a misunderstanding.
Oh,
Like we said.
Yeah.
She looks at the camera and goes,
I was thinking of dogs.
Oh.
Oh, my dear, those are Pinky and Buffy. But, I sputtered, I'm a babysitter, not a dog sitter. Miss Hargreaves looked confused. I don't know what arrangements my aunt made, she said at last, but here are the dogs, and here you are, and I have to leave.
I have an impromptu important appointment.
But, it's not so difficult, she went on. They need to be outside as much as possible. Our yard isn't fenced in. Ooh, that's a mistake.
Uh-oh.
So you may either take them out on their leashes or stay with them in the backyard. I'm confused. Okay. If you play with them, oh no, this is a bad idea. If you play with them, they won't run away. I'm sure they fucking won't. Now their footballs are in the box by the back door. Their leashes are hanging on the peg above. And at 4:30, they need their chow, a can apiece. And they can have one mailman cookie as a treat. That's cruel.
What?
The
What are you
emergency
teaching them?
The emergency numbers.
That answers the question of what happened to the mailman.
That's
though.
true.
Yeah.
Why we have a new one.
How do you think they made those cookies?
There's no mail-in. Fuck
We
that.
hate mail. It's where the bills come from.
God. The emergency numbers are posted by the phone in the kitchen just in case. Do you have any questions? I shook my head dazedly. Buffy and Pinky leaped around, galumphing after Miss Hargreaves as she put on her coat and went out to meet the cab that came to pick her up. Shaking, I let the dogs out in the backyard, remembering to bring their footballs. I tossed a red football gingerly toward them as they ran ahead of me. So they're St. Bernards and she's a preteen, so they probably come up to her shoulders.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're gonna bowl her over.
When me and my sister were little, our neighbors had a bunch of Rottweilers, and they didn't normally leave their backyard, which was fenced in. When you have giant dogs, it only makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we were young enough that we were eye level with the dogs.
Jesus.
And one of the dogs was out front and just turned its head into my sister's head and gave her a black eye. Just from turning his giant skull into her eyeball.
Wow.
We couldn't have been much younger than that.
Yeah.
They ran ahead of me. I wasn't sure what they'd do with it. Louie usually runs half-heartedly after a football and then sort of forgets to fetch it. Not those two. They dove for the ball, crashing into each other. One of them got it away from the other, but I couldn't tell which one.
They
They,
were both
looked identical.
linebackers.
I got down on my knees and clapped my hands. Okay, boy, bring it here, I called, not caring whether the dog was Pinky or Buffy. Whichever one it was came barreling straight towards me. I knew that game all right. Louie likes it too. He runs for you, then turns at the last second and veers around you. You can almost see him grinning. But not this dog. He ran right over
This
me.
time.
I was lost in a whirl of fur and claws and playful woofs. It'll sound really good. Don't worry.
I believe
You
Theater of the
really
mind,
haven't
yeah.
lived until a dog has stepped on your face. I did not add that. I sat up and rubbed my cheeks and
Like getting
eyes.
tossed about by a wave in the ocean.
Nothing seemed to be bleeding, so I stood up shakily. I looked around. Oh no, the dogs were gone. I thought Miss Hargreaves had said they would stay in the yard with me.
There you
Maybe
go.
they didn't stay with the people they'd practically knocked unconscious. How long was I out?
5 days. Nothing.
You skipped a person.
I'm an idiot.
It's
It's
okay.
okay. We love you anyway.
I'm not even drinking and I just skipped a
Yeah.
person.
I don't like sober you.
Neither do I.
Why are you sober?
I just
Don't feel like it.
been drinking too much.
Okay. Let's talk about this more on the podcast.
Yeah.
This seems like the right forum.
Great time.
Great time.
Why aren't you?
You sure you don't want to drink, Chris?
Now I do. That's awkward.
Pinky! I shouted. Buffy! Nothing. Pinky! Buffy! I ran to the front of the house. No dogs. I looked up and down the street. No dogs. I ran to the backyard and looked again. And
5
there they
dogs.
were. That was, over kind of quick, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
A little anticlimactic.
End of the chapter. No.
Yeah.
Not in the McKeever's yard, but in the yard next door. They were racing toward me, heading for a clothesline. Pinky, Buffy, no! Too late. They streaked through all the clothes and came to a screeching halt about 2 feet from me. One was wearing a small blanket draped over his or her tail. The other had a slip on his
One
or
was wearing
her
a tasteful gown.
mouth.
Ooh, scandalous.
Bad dogs, I cried. Sit! Sit! I took the blanket and the slip from them and glanced nervously at the house next door. It seemed pretty quiet. Maybe no one was home. Thank goodness for the clothesline. Thank goodness the clothesline seemed okay, except for the missing blanket and slip. I know, I was worried about the clothesline too.
Oof, thank God.
I wanted to return the things, but what about Pinky and Buffy?
Fuck those
Fuck
things.
that, follow
Throw them
that,
on
throw
the
that.
ground. Who
Take
gives
it
a shit?
off.
Blame it on the wind, bitch.
Look, I'm dealing with a lot of stress here, you guys. If I went to the other yard, would they follow me? Would they run away? I didn't know what to do. I almost didn't care. That's a real journey of the
Oh
mind.
boy. That makes 5 of us, Kristy.
I know. Now we get it. But just then, a car pulled into the driveway out of the house. Pulled into the driveway of the house. The car did not pull out of the house. Luckily, the driveway was on the other side
Of
of the house from where I was. But I knew I'd better do something fast.
Oh, Kristy, what are you going to do?
I don't know, something fast, I hope.
I had lived the how long was I outline, but how long was she out if someone's already coming home?
5 days. Someone could...
She has a beard.
She Rip Van Winkled herself. Someone could come out at any moment to bring in the laundry. Okay, you guys, I said to the dogs. Look, here are your footballs. I began walking slowly backward toward the clothesline. The dogs crept after me as if they were stalking the balls. I reached to the clothesline. The dogs were still following me. Come on, I whispered tantalizingly. I held the balls under one arm, pinned the blanket and slipped crookedly to the line, and raced back to the McKeever's yard at top speed. The dogs ran after me. They liked that game. Good for them. They could follow me all the way back into the house, which is just what they did and just where I wanted them. Now I can kill them. We stayed inside for the rest of the afternoon since I didn't trust the dogs outdoors anymore, even on their leashes. I watched TV. The dogs chewed on their footballs. Anytime they started to get rowdy, I just held open the door to the laundry room and they calmed down. Jesus.
Classic.
You want to go back to jail, you bitches? I screamed at them. By the time Mrs. Hargreaves returned, I had decided something important. The members of the Babysitters Club should keep a notebook. Each time one of us finished a job, she should write it up in the notebook, and the others should read about it. Like a shared diary. That way, we could learn about each other's experiences. With a little luck, we wouldn't make any mistakes more than once. For instance, no more dog sitting. But there's going to be a ghost at some point. I ran home, eager to start the notebook. My first Babysitters Club job was over.
Oh my God.
So you have to read to the next tab?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
No, it's fine. We can get there.
far.
I'm sorry.
Oh God. Okay. So every now and then they do a chapter that's in someone's handwriting, and it's like a page from the notebook.
I was wondering why we hadn't gotten to like the diary where there were any diary portions, but it's because they hadn't started the notebook yet.
Right. It all makes sense
it
now.
Makes sense now.
Yeah, you
And
dumb motherfucker. Your question got answered.
Well, I didn't know that it was going to.
Jump
They-
in the gun.
They each have their own handwriting, which I think is neat.
That's pretty neat. What's Kristy's handwriting look like? Describe it for us.
I don't know. I don't think
It's
this
like,
is, this is not Kristy's handwriting.
Lucida handwriting. It's a font.
I think this is Claudia. Oh, it's gonna be hard to read. Thursday, September 25th.
Captain's log.
Star date. Kristy says we have to keep a record of every babysitting job we do in this book. My first job through the Babysitters Club was last Saturday. I was sitting for Jamie Newton, only it wasn't just for Jamie. It was for Janice, Ad, his 3 cousins spelled wrong. See, Claudia, maybe you shouldn't be so mean to your fucking sister and learn some grammar and spelling.
Yeah, but can her sister paint?
Probably not.
Probably not.
4 kids all together. Mrs. Newton didn't tell me that over the phone. Anyway, the kids were Jamie plus Rosie, who was 3, Brenda, who was 5, and Rob, who was 8. And boy, were they wild. Claudia didn't have an easy time of it at the Newtons, that was for sure. Oh, sorry. Journal entry over. She called me on Sunday
End
to
of
tell me
journal.
about it. I was almost glad I hadn't gotten the job. Forgot
What happened was that Mrs. Newton's sister, Mrs. Feldman, and her husband and their 3 kids were visiting, and the adults had gotten invitations to a show at an art gallery or something. So Mrs. Newton needed a babysitter for Jamie and his cousins, but somehow she forgot to mention that to Claudia, which wasn't at all like Mrs. Newton. It must have been because she's pregnant and thinking about the baby. Ordinarily, Mrs. Newton is honest and thoughtful.
Damn.
Now she's a big dumb bitch.
Now she's full of all those pregnant hormones.
There's a big pregnant liar.
and she's just raging all over us.
She always calls her
Eating
babysitters.
pickles. It's insane.
Pickle craving piece of shit.
She doesn't sleep. She has like 50 pillows.
Never have enough pillows. She always calls her babysitters if there are any changes in plans. Once, she even called when Jamie had come down with a cold to ask whether I still wanted to come, since I would risk catching it from him. But things must have been slipping Mrs. Newton's mind, because when Claudia showed up that Saturday,
Pregnancy
4 children
madness.
were waiting for her, and there was a whole bunch of problems. Jamie and Rosie apparently didn't like each other. Brenda was cranky, parenthetical, very cranky, because she was getting over the chicken pox, and Rob hated girls, which included Rosie, Brenda, Jamie's mother, his own mother, and girl babysitter.
Boy, that kid needs a little bit of therapy.
I really
gay.
liked how that sentence was written. That's rare.
You went gay, I was thinking incel.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
When Claudia stepped into the living room,
same.
Rob
Guys still like this.
That's
Rob
true,
was
yeah.
sulking on one end of the couch, muttering things like "stupid girls" and "why do we have to have a dumb girl babysit for us?"
That's actually what he said.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys something about Brenda, though. Brenda was crying and clutching Mrs. Feldman around the legs, which made it hard for both of them to get around. And Rosie and Jamie were fighting. So frankly, we've got a real mess on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie was trying to yank something out of Jamie's hand. "That's mine!" Jamie yelled indignantly. "It is not, it's mine!" Rosie made off with her prize
Whoa.
and charged up the stairs. Jamie ran after her. "It is not, it's mine!" "Mine?" I don't know who this is. Mine. There's just an extra mine in there.
Why?
I think these parents made up this art show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouted
They're
Jamie.
like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Emergency art show.
"Mine!" shouted Jamie at the top of his lungs. Claudia said the house was practically shaking. "Girls don't play with trucks. That's my moving van. Give it." "No, no, 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 no." Yeah.
I want a U-Haul.
Moving van.
Yeah.
What a fun game that always was.
I have to move all your shit out of my room.
You dumb girl. Since the adults hadn't left yet, Claudia wasn't sure whether she was supposed to break up the fight or let one of the parents do it. Just as she was about to dash up the stairs, Mrs. Feldman managed to unwrap Brenda from around her legs and chase after Jamie and Rosie. She took each one by the hand and walked them downstairs, explaining patiently,
"Jamie, sometimes girls do play with trucks. Rosie and Brenda do. But Rosie, you don't have a moving van like this one. You must have gotten confused. That belongs to Jamie."
Well, I'm glad that's cleared up.
Can I just say that you did our go-to mom voice?
That's true. What is it?
Julia
Childs,
Childs.
yeah.
Jamie?
See? See? Jamie said and stuck out his tongue. Rosie stuck hers out too. Then they touched, and everyone was uncomfortable.
So we'll just get your dump truck out of the goodie bag.
Continued Mrs. Feldman.
You brought 3 trucks with you, remember? Now maybe you and Jamie can play together nicely.
Jamie and Rosie looked at each other suspiciously. Brenda burst into tears again and grabbed hold of her mother. And that's just how things were by the time Jamie's parents and the Feldmans left, except that Brenda was hugging a ratty teddy bear instead of her mother's legs. Ugh. Claudia looked around the room nervously. Rob looked around in disgust because he was surrounded by women. His eyes fell on Jamie, who turned his back on Rosie and was pushing an ambulance back and forth, making loud siren noises.
"Hey, Jamie,
Said Rob.
let's get away from all these girls, okay?
He glanced defiantly
Let's go see
at Claudia.
Joker. Let's go see Joker. Let's read.
Don't date the
Let's read some
podcast.
Hunter S.
Sorry.
Thompson.
"Okay," replied Jamie vaguely, busy with the ambulance. "Where are you going?" asked Claudia. I'm not telling. And he grabbed Jamie by the wrist. Claudia dashed across the living room and blocked the doorway.
God.
Shit is getting fucked up in this
that
house.
Sounds awful. Oops. Rob pulled Jamie around and hauled him off in another direction toward the entrance to the dining room. Claudia beat him to it. Where are you going? She asked him again. I'm the babysitter and I have to know. Just tell me where you're going. Aren't they just going somewhere in the fucking house? Tell me what room you're going into. I must approve of these decisions.
What's the Batman thing? What's in the...
Where are the other drugs going?
I don't get
anyone.
it. It's okay.
It's fine.
Who's going to make me? Nobody, but I won't let you leave until you do. Rob whirled around again. He let go of Jamie and grabbed his sister instead and used her as a human shield. Jesus. Jamie sat down on the floor in surprise. I added that. Have we ever had a babysitter as mean as her? Rob asked angrily. No, said Rosie. No, sniffled Brenda, who hadn't finished crying. Jeez, like, solidarity. Are we going to let her be mean? No, shouted his sisters. Okay, let's do it. Claudia said that her stomach felt as if it were on a roller coaster. She had no idea what the Feldman kids were going to do. She found out immediately. Rosie began running around the room, yelling at the top of her lungs. She wasn't yelling words, she was just making noise. Brenda leaped into the Newton's couch and jumped up and down on it as if it was a trampoline.
So, like, they had this plan. So this is like their go-to thing. They're like, you ready to run the 1-2 on this new blood babysitter, bitch?
And Rob turned his fingers into guns and aimed them at Claudia. Pow, 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 pow. Weren't we just saying?
There's trouble, this Rob.
You're a dead man. I mean, a dead lady. Jamie looked on dazedly. At that point, Claudia almost panicked and called Stacy for help, but Jamie, sitting quietly on the floor, inspired her. She remembered that when she was little, and she, or Janine, misbehaved, her mother used to turn to her father and just murmur, Ignore, and they would do just that. Claudia decided to try it on the Feldmans, in the hopes that they won't grow up to do a bunch of drugs and then make bad music. She sat on the floor next to Jamie, reached for a copy of The Tale of Peter Rabbit lying abandoned by an armchair, and began to read to him. Jamie rested his head against her shoulder. Aww. Thump, thump, thump went Brenda. Aye! Shrieked Rosie, running by Claudia and stepping in her lap. Claudia didn't even look up. Pow! Shouted Rob. Pow! Hey, babysitter, I'm killing you, okay? Babysitter? Not now, said Claudia. I'm busy. She kept reading, raising her voice. Mr. Potter.
Late for class again, Potter.
When she got to the part where Mr. McGregor chased after Peter, waving a rake.
You know that classic part. I never read it.
You
I just
never
remember
read
he had
Peter Rabbit?
No.
I just remember he had a
I read
blue jacket.
Goosebumps. Goosebumps.
I was a spooky kid.
I was spooky. I didn't care about rabbits.
Peter Rabbit was before Goosebumps time.
I like mummies.
And Peter Rabbit was pretty fucking spooky for its time, man.
So the guy that
thumping
reads
stopped.
Watership Down.
Yeah.
I want my rabbits torn to shreds.
Yeah. I don't like my rabbits unless they're bloody and dead.
I want them having visions and...
I want 3 left by the end.
Yeah. They start a new society. Spoiler. The thumping stopped. That's actually the last line in Watership Down.
Jesus
Spoiler?
Christ.
The thumping stopped. Brenda sat down a few feet away from
Brenda was
Claudia
dead.
and tried to listen without appearing too interested. She just tried negging her, you know? Rosie continued to
You're
run
reading
around the
that
room,
wrong.
but she stopped yelling. And every time she ran by Claudia, she didn't show up. She slowed up. So I was about to say showed up, and that would have been embarrassing.
I read so badly my last time. You're good.
Yeah, if anyone's following along, they're getting so frustrated.
Well, sometimes the flow of the words just doesn't
It really
They
does.
just
flow at
don't-
all.
Like, the sentence doesn't end up where you think it's
The
going.
word jouncing was in
I
there.
had to read jouncing.
You had to read jouncing a couple of
And then
times.
some other fucking
I think you
native
got
word.
galumphing,
I
too.
got galumphing.
Oh yeah, galumping.
I think those are both real words, but
Right, throw
underused.
me off.
Yeah.
I said someone spirited someone into a room. What does that fucking mean?
At least there's no, what was it? Cartons. There's no cartons.
Oh, the bane of this show. Cartons.
Where was I? Oh, Rosie continued to run around the room, but she stopped yelling, and every time she ran by Claudia, she slowed up long enough to look at the pictures in the book. By the time the story was over, Jamie, Rosie, and Brenda were as quiet as mice. Claudia moved them to the couch. She found a copy of Where the Wild Things Are, opened it, and read about Max putting on his wolf suit and making mischief. As much mischief as me? Asked Rob from across the room, dropping his guns. Not quite, replied Claudia. Rob looked satisfied. If you come over here, she went on, you can find out what happened to him. Rob didn't say anything, but he perched on the arm of the couch and listened to the story, and to 2 more after that. Never again did he listen, though, because then he died. Oh, my God. Oh, no, I misread that. And that was Claudia's first Babysitters Club job, and the story of how she tamed the Feldmans. End of chapter.
Jesus. Oh, boy. All right.
Now, don't forget that when you get to the end of the journal entry, you have to say, end of journal.
End of entry.
Would you like to know more?
End of journal.
Okay, this is Stacy. You can tell because she dots her eyes with hearts.
Oh, okay. So Stacy. Jenna. Stacy.
Quoting our own short film.
It's fun. Thursday, September 25th. Yesterday, I babysat for Kristy's little brother, David Michael. Kristy told us to write in the Babysitters Club notebook so we could keep track of any problems that we had with the Babysitters Club jobs. The plurals are throwing me off. But taking care of David Michael was no trouble at all. He was very good. While Kristy was chasing around after those 2 elephants, Pinky and Miffy, or whatever their names are, I was having a fine time with David Michael. And wait. End of journal.
End of journal.
End of journal. Stacy had a fine time at my house, all right, but she had it discovering Sam. And I mean that in the most sexual way possible. Her brother, Sam.
Oh, the way you read it didn't make... I had to read that sentence 3 times.
She had a fine time discovering Sam.
She had a fine time, all right, but she had it discovering Sam.
Yeah. His balls.
It was a weird sentence.
It is
Yeah,
weird.
it's a very.
It is weird. No, it's weird.
It took me a few...
Well, it was
It's
written
weird.
by a child. The child's the
the
narrator.
journal
This
entry's
book is
over.
ruining all of our speech.
Jesus Christ, Stacy is boy crazy and my brother is girl crazy and they fucked. They were perfect for each other. Not that Stacy neglected David Michael. Ew.
I'm going to try to read this like a human this time. But she did talk an awful lot about Sam after Wednesday, and Sam talked a lot about Stacy. Now, here's the interesting part. Sam is in high school. He's a freshman, and Stacy is only in 7th grade. Most high school boys wouldn't be caught dead with a lowly junior high girl unless the girl was a knockout. A knockout 12-year-old.
Well, then it's fine.
It's okay to think in those terms if you're a 13-year-old boy, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
Yeah.
There can be a 12-year-old knockout. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There really isn't that much of an
boobs are
age
coming
difference,
in.
but it's horrifying when you're an adult to read about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure that Stacy's incredible hair and colorful clothes, and the fact that she came from New York City, made her
New
feel
York City.
pretty special.
Get the rope.
God damn it.
I like that we all made... Is that pace?
Yeah.
Salsa?
Yes.
We all
Pace
went there.
picante.
I can't...
New York City.
yes.
Aw. I
Holy
bet kids
shit.
these days
Yeah, they
don't get that
definitely don't.
reference.
No.
I was watching Seth Meyers thing the other day and he made a Scooby snack joke. And then, like, he paused and then he just said to the audience, it was a show that was on when my writers were young.
Anyway, Stacy got to my house just as David Michael was coming home from school, and about 10 minutes before I dashed off to what turned out to be my dog sitting job. I gave her a very fast introduction to our house.
Your dog sitting job. I thought you said it turned out to be my dog saying job.
Job!
I was like, I missed that part.
I'm bad at reading.
No, that's not. No, I didn't say it for that
we're
reason.
all losing our
Yes.
minds.
You're bad at reading bad writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not your fault.
No, it's like you're reading those sentences that when you start them, you're like, I think I know where this might be going. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't seem to be ending where I thought it was.
It's like
Yeah.
the
Why
tone
are they saying
completely
this?
changed in the last 2
And
words.
there's a lot of parentheses.
Yeah.
I can't even handle what the next thing's going to be because it looks like it's all in one breath, but I'm going to check.
Just go.
Okay.
I believe in
I
you.
gave her a very fast introduction to our house, parentheses, not knowing whether Sam or Charlie would be home soon. Here's the kitchen. The dishwasher's broken. David Michael can have a snack. Cookies in the jar. Nothing after 4:30. He's allergic to chocolate. Oh, here's Louie. He won't be any trouble. All phone numbers are on the bulletin board. Mom is on the phone. You know where I'll be. The TV's in the playroom. David Michael likes Candyland. It's in the cabinet by the stereo. See if there are any notes from his teacher in his lunchbox. Any questions? Stacy shook her head.
That was great.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, no, that's you read that exactly as it was written. Damn. Okay, I knelt in front of David Michael. This is Stacy, I told him. She's my friend. She's going to babysit for you today. David Michael nodded. He's used to babysitters. He's very professional.
He put on his tie.
I'm going to be babysitting somewhere else, not far away. I'll be back around 5. Oh, Stacy, my big brothers are Charlie and Sam. Charlie is 16 and Sam is 14. Why aren't they fucking babysitting?
Right? Good boys.
I don't know what they're
They have
doing this
sports to do.
afternoon. They might be around, they might not. Have fun, you guys. I ran out the door. Stacy said that she and David Michael sat right down at the kitchen table to have a snack. I hadn't been gone for more than 5 minutes when Sam showed up. He seemed to be angry about something. He was slamming his fist into a baseball glove, but he stopped short when he saw Stacy sitting in the kitchen. According to Sam, Stacy was a foxy chick. According to Stacy, Sam was a gorgeous hunk. When I heard that later, I thought about what they looked like and tried to figure out what they saw in each other. I have absolutely no interest in boys. Yeah, we know. Of course. Still, I realize that kind of information might be useful someday. No, she didn't really comment more about why she doesn't understand that what's-her-face is attractive.
Figuring it all out.
She's figuring herself out. Give her time.
I remembered that Stacy was wearing a matching top and skirt made of a gray sweatshirt material with big yellow number 10s all over it. That's going into a
sounds
lot
hot.
of detail.
Big number yellow 10s. She sure is a 10. Wink. Wink.
I get it.
Do you get it? Did Chris, did you get it?
I did.
John, did you get it?
I'm going to add to this description, and you're going to think she sounds even more like a 10, Jonathan. Because
Possibly
her hair was
a 10
pinned
and a
back with
half.
clips shaped like rainbows.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, little silver whistles were dangling from her ears.
Dude, Lisa Frank stickers all over her
And
face.
no, I didn't read that wrong. Little silver whistles were dangling from her ears.
The sexiest of
Every
all.
time
Yes.
she shook her head, it was like,
Right. It was all very cool. Very cool. But it seemed kind of young looking. And she was drinking a glass of milk.
The sexiest of drinks.
What a loser. I thought about Sam.
she should have been having whiskey.
Now, he is pretty good looking with dark curly hair,
He's your brother.
sparkly blue
Gross.
eyes, and a few
Ooh.
freckles. I don't have that. But he was wearing jeans so ratty, he'd once promised Mom he'd throw them away, but then hadn't been able to go through with it. Just
Separation
Kinda
anxiety.
twisted.
Yeah, yeah.
and a
See, Mom
T-shirt that
would've
said,
just thrown them away.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom would have just thrown them away.
Yeah.
and a T-shirt that said, "I know you are, but what am I?" Hey, back around to Pee Wee. There's a lot of Pee Wee in this. To top it off, he was mad. So where
Just
did the
what
fox?
women love in men. Maybe she can change him.
Yeah.
An angry guy in a Pee Wee Herman T-shirt.
How's that even possible?
Sign me up. So where did the foxy chick and the gorgeous hunk come
Check,
from?
please.
Was it the hair? The freckles? I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, Sam stopped being mad, and Stacy finished the milk she was drinking as fast as she could and checked to be sure she didn't have
but
any
you
on
threw
her
up.
upper lip.
Chug glass of milk.
I used to as a child. Didn't make me grow any taller.
Hi, said Stacy. Hello, said Sam. He put his books and his glove on the table. His glove. Oh, he's coming back from practice, I guess. He's not like Michael Jackson.
He was
Yeah.
punching the glove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put his glove on the table. It's Freddy Krueger, I think. Leaned against the counter and crossed his legs. Do you ever wonder, like, could someone actually do that? I think you could, yes.
I would definitely slip and fall.
Yeah, right.
If I tried.
You just lead and slip and fall on your ass.
But you read something and it's like he leapt up, arms akimbo, and crossed his leg. Or you're like, wait, what did he? Could you do that? Crossed his legs, running his fingers through his hair. Oh yeah. All right. So he put his books and his glove on the table, leaned against the counter, and crossed his legs, running his fingers through his hair. Checks out. I've seen him do that.
It's pretty hot.
He thinks it makes him look cool and casual. Stacy and Sam both spoke at once. Let's see how you do that.
Both spoke at once.
Do you want me to help you?
Sure, you do wait. You do this one, I'll do this one. Ready? Wait.
Oh, okay.
You must okay. I'll do this, you do that.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. You must be Stacy!
Kristy's friend.
Oh.
That went well.
Oh, said Stacy, flattered. Ha! Has Kristy mentioned me? We don't have a voice for Sam, do we? Yeah. Well, she said you were gonna babysit today. I was gonna go over to this guy Ernest's house. He's pretty scared. He might be scared straight. But maybe...
But he also might be in jail.
He might be... But he also might be going to jail.
Could be saving Christmas. You never know with this guy.
He's all over the place. He's got his friend named Vern.
You know what I mean?
To be fair, these are the names of all people that would be old.
Oh, shit. I can't recover. But maybe...
Jim Varney, rest in peace.
But I think he's busy or something, so I'll just stick around here. Well, listen, replied Stacy. Do you want me to leave? There's no reason for your mom to pay me to babysit if you're going to be at home. Oof, I was laughing so hard, now my eyes are stinging from tears.
You run that risk when you read the
bees.
Babysitters Club.
That's true. I'm crying at how good this is.
It's only book 1.
Oh, no, said Sam Sam quickly. Jesus, fuck. The deal with my mom is that Charlie and Kristy and I only have to babysit David Michael 1 day a week each. The rest of the time, we can do whatever we want, even if we're at home. Wow, that's really nice of your mom. Can I have a Twinkie? Can I have a Twinkie? David Michael interrupted them.
His voice.
Yes, he's very professional.
He's the one that insists he be called David Michael.
He's a professional.
I said, may I?
Good evening, fellows.
Stacy looked at her watch. I guess so. Do you think you'll still be able to eat your dinner tonight? Yes, replied David Michael firmly. Okay. David Michael got a package of Twinkies from the cupboard, opened it, took one out, and handed the other to Sam. Here, he said. You want it?
It isn't that he's proper, it's that he's very serious.
Yeah.
I feel like I could relate. I was a serious kid.
He's got a tie on.
Sure. Sam took the Twinkie, broke it in half, and gave one piece to Stacy. Oh, no, her weakness.
Oh,
No thanks, she said. You must be the one on the diet, Sam said.
I heard about
Kristy told us one of her friends was dieting. That sure takes willpower. I guess. Stacy stood up. So, she said to David Michael, how about some Candyland? Yay. Heck, I'll play too, said Sam. We can have a championship series. First one to win 2 games is the Candyland champion of the universe. You're going to play. Oh, sorry. You're going to play? David Michael's eyes widened. Yeah, sure. But you never... Hey, little brother, your shoe's untied. It is? David Michael looked at his feet.
That seems highly
He was wearing
improbable.
sneakers fastened with Velcro straps. I don't have laces, he said witheringly. He said witheringly.
He is like this.
Made you look. Sam ran out of the kitchen. You, I'm telling, cried David Michael. Hey, Squirt, Sam called from the playroom. Come on, we better start playing if we're going to have time for a championship series. That sounds fucking boring.
The internet didn't exist.
We just need to play the same board game over
They
and
had
over
nothing
and
to
over.
do. They didn't have smartphones or Netflix.
So David, Michael, Stacy, and Sam settled themselves on the floor and played Candyland.
And so it came to pass.
They were still
Morgan
playing.
Freeman.
They were still
So
playing when I
Stacy,
got home
Andy
from
Dufresne,
Dawson.
and David Michael.
Later in the privacy of my room.
Some days they will.
He was my friend. Stacy said they'd had a great time, except that Sam kept teasing David Michael and accusing him of cheating. Stacy didn't know whether to laugh with Sam since she wanted to impress him, or take David Michael's side since he was so fucking serious. And said she was his
Poor
babysitter. She said she did both. She did them both? Then I told Stacy about Pinky and Buffy McKeever, and Stacy laughed until she was practically hysterical.
The dogs have
And this
last
was
names.
written at a time where she could have been committed
Pinky
for
and
it.
Buffy McKeever.
The 80s.
Met our cat, Pancakes Eaton.
All things considered, Stacy definitely had the easiest of the first 4 Babysitters Club jobs. Mary Ann's, which was next, was sort of scary, as you'll see, and it was pretty interesting. ... At least to me.
Okay. Oh boy.
They literally just had a find out in the next chapter.
Yeah. Keep reading, babysitters.
You'll see. This is a book.
I love that vote of confidence. It was pretty interesting, at least to me. See, that doesn't like pretty interesting, huh?
There's
at
mo-
least to me, and you're like, oh, all
There's
right.
more to
Yeah.
this story.
Well, there is.
Maybe
In
you
fact,
just have bad taste, Kristy.
there's a whole new chapter.
Oh shit, which one is it?
Chapter 10.
Does it start with a journal
Double
entry?
digit. Yes, it does. Begin journal entry. Saturday, September 27th. I don't know what Kristy always makes such a fuss about. This cursive is the cursive.
let me
Oh,
see her
shit.
handwriting,
The
I'm
cursive
curious.
and the beer is combining to make
This is
talk like
Oh,
an idiot.
yeah.
what, Marianne? Oh,
She's
that's
supposed
hard
to be the
read.
nerd, John.
That is hard to read.
Watson's kids are cute. Karen is 5 and Andrew is 3. I think Kristy would like them if she were babysat. If she Hey! I think Kristy would like them if she ever babysat for them. Are you reading this, Kristy? I think that's I hope so, but it sure looks like I rape so. Well,
They need to work on their penmanship.
yes, they
That's
do.
for damn
I
sure.
hope so. Well, Kristy said
How
this
well
notebook
do you?
said this notebook is for us to write our experiences and our problems in, especially our problems. And there were a few problems at Watson's house. Tell me that doesn't look like an R.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Watson's house.
Watson's
Watson's Rose?
Oh, Scoob.
Read.
When I said Andrew and Karen were cute, I mean they were cute looking.
Oh, right.
What else could
There
you
aren't
mean?
that, I mean,
You're reading this so
there
angrily.
aren't that
But-
many different versions.
But dig this. They were cute acting
this.
too. It's like, what's your fucking point then? Most of the time.
Listen, get this straight.
Over-
They looked cute, and then they acted cute.
Overall,
And that's why I
they
call
were
them
pretty fucking cute.
Yeah.
And I'll cut anyone who doesn't believe me.
Wait, where the fuck am I?
But sometimes.
Wow,
But
she wrote a
sometimes-
long one.
Oh boy, this is a rough one. Oh god, but sometimes Karen was a pill. Oh shit. That was one problem.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
That was one problem. Period. Another problem was Boo Boo, the cat. Period. The biggest problem was Mrs. Oh, sorry. Mrs. Pointer
Wait,
Porter.
Porter?
The
It
next
looks like Parter.
the next door
Or
neighbor.
Panther.
This looks like a really
Mrs.
uplifting scene in a
Panther's in
movie
this?
where you're teaching him how to read.
She's the nerd. Her handwriting should be the best.
You make me happy. Another anyone else who sits for Andrew and Karen should know about Boo Boo and Mrs. Porter ahead of time. Fuck. It took years of my life.
You did it.
In journal entry.
And a journal entry. Oh my God. Watson picked up Marianne at 8:45 Saturday morning and drove her to his house. He lives all the way across...
Watson's Kristy's mom's boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Not stepfather.
Kristy's mom's
but-
boyfriend.
Okay,
Yeah.
boyfriend.
He lives all the way across Fucktown, so it's hard to get to his place by bike. According to Marianne, Watson was very nice to her in the car, which was to be expected.
Hold on, I have another question. I'm sorry. Was Watson his first name?
I don't
What
remember.
kind of 12-year-old would refer to someone by their last name?
It's like it's gotta be his first name, but what the fuck kind of first name is that?
What would his last name be if his first name was already Watson?
Jenkins.
All right. Sounds great.
What's in haberdashery?
He always makes an extra effort
What's on
to
your mind?
He always makes an extra effort to be nice to me, since he knows I don't like to have him around.
And called him a terrible father the last time you saw him.
So of course he would be nice to my best friend. Marianne says that Watson lives in a very pretty big house. I guess he has a lot of money. It's probably why Mom likes him. He'd have to, the way he throws it around, buying Chinese food left and right, and taking my mom out on dates almost every night. You know how fucking expensive Chinese food is?
They do go on
Not
a
very.
lot of dates considering she has young children.
It's true.
My
Anyway,
parents didn't do shit.
this says anyway.
Let's just say
Anyway,
you both were the same age. One of you couldn't babysit the other.
Anyway, the house is large and Andrew and Karen have neat rooms. And toys. Marianne had never seen so many.
Gigantic stuffed animals, dolls, a train that you could really ride around the backyard,
fucking Neverland?
cars, bikes, a playhouse, costumes to dress up in.
Watson is
It was
Michael Jackson.
it was incredible, kind of like being in Toys R Us. Watson turned out This is another sentence that's too hard to read. Watson turned out to be not only a very good father, but a very organized customer. The first thing he did was introduce Marianne to Andrew and Karen,
Here's
whose
your money.
mother had just brought them over. Then he showed her their rooms, took her back downstairs, showed her where all the stuff was for making lunch, and finally pinned up a list of phone numbers she might need. And then he brought out Boo Boo. From what Marianne told me, Boo Boo must truly be a boo-boo. What the fuck does that mean?
Is that an
An accident?
He was a mess of a cat. He was great with big yellow eyes that were kind of handsome, but he was fat in italics. He looked like a pillow with legs attached.
What is he, Dusty?
He's
I'm gonna call Dusty a mess of a cat from now on.
Dusty, you mess of a cat.
That's
When he
rough.
stood up, his stomach touched the ground, and when he tried to run, it swayed back and forth.
Oh,
It was
little
gross.
pooch.
Oh. He weighs 17 pounds, Karen said proudly. We think he belongs in the Guinness Book of World Records, remarked Watson. Marianne couldn't figure out why Watson was showing Boo Boo to her.
Why wouldn't you? He sounds amazing. This mess of a
I
cat.
bet you Twiggy's bigger.
Oh, definitely.
Our friend
Okay.
Pat.
My
He
cat
was
is
really,
huge.
really fat.
Oh,
So what? Certainly he didn't need to be fed. Watson cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. We already established what he sounded like in the previous
What
episode.
does he sound like?
Like he's on Downton Abbey and shit.
Oh, okay.
That was before he dropped the ruse and we found out he was Michael Jackson.
Well, yeah, he's got a fucking Neverland.
I'm not going to do a Michael
He has
Jackson
a
impression.
child-sized train in his
Yeah, he's a child at heart.
There are a few things you should know about Boo Boo, he said. Now, Marianne is not the bravest person in the world. She is the nerd of the group. And she said that right when she began to feel just the teensiest bit afraid, she put her finger in her mouth and bit the nail. The
Like-
first
The
thing
whole finger. and
said
then
Watson.
the nail.
It bled badly.
is that Boo Boo bites if provoked and scratches. He's an attack cat, said Karen.
That's all cats.
All
It's
cats.
best if you
That
just
describes
steer
every cat.
clear of him, Watson went on. I'd offer to confine him while I'm gone, but he doesn't like that much. He gnawed the laundry room door all up like a dog.
Jesus.
Just try to ignore it.
That's why he's so fat. He's full of wood.
Marianne nodded. Whatever you do, don't touch him, added Watson. Marianne nodded again. Well, I guess that's it. Any questions? No, not really. Lunch at 12:30, right? Said Marianne. Right.
Maybe I just wasn't aware of structure as a child, but I don't think we had like a lunch time.
I don't think I did either.
Because
Like a
it wasn't
set
like
time?
they need to eat
Yeah.
at this time
Yeah.
and this time and
Yeah.
eat at this
I was
time.
only ever. I
It
was
was
never
like-
there.
It's just like,
during
it's
lunchtime.
around
My
noon.
parents were hungry. They make food, I think.
If it was a weekend, I'd leave before my parents would even wake up, and then I'd show up around dinner time.
That was not my childhood.
Pancakes, you're gonna be Boo Boo.
You're playing Boo Boo.
Okay, your motivation is you're fat and you're a fucking
You're a
mess.
fucking
You're
mess.
Total Boo Boo.
You can
Okay,
you can start.
it's gonna hurt you.
I'm gonna try to do this. Oh God,
No.
she's so powerful.
What about Mrs. Porter, Daddy? Asked Karen. Oh, I think she's on vacation, replied Watson. Hee-hee. No need to worry about her. He turned to Marianne. Miss Porter is an elderly woman who lives next door. She's a bit on the eccentric. I have a hard time with this word, but I'm insisting upon using it. She's a bit on the eccentric side, and Karen is convinced she's a witch. She isn't, of course. Oh, there, I've diffused that little bit of what might seem interesting.
That could have been cool, but all right.
She isn't, of course. No such thing could exist.
Nope,
And that's
just
why I
rich.
say, of course. But she doesn't like animals, and Boo Boo seems to have gotten on her bad side. We try to keep the two of them apart. Okay, I'm off, kids. Watson kissed Andrew and Karen goodbye. I'll be home by 1:30 a.m., he told Marianne. Marianne was just wondering how to entertain her charges when Karen began to talk. It turned out that she was a nonstop chatterer. We're divorced, she announced.
What?
Yep, said Andrew. Our parents live in different houses. Yep, said Andrew. He sat down in a little wagon.
Sat down in a little wagon.
That's a wagon.
Yes,
like
obviously sat down in a little wagon.
Our mummy's going to get married again. Yep, said Andrew, pushing himself around the playroom. Then we'll have one mummy and two daddies. Yep, said Andrew. He backed into a bookcase.
What?
What stream of consciousness bullshit is this?
I don't know that one of these conversations in this book so far has been one that you actually need to read.
And if our daddy gets married again, then how many mommies and daddies will we have, Andrew? Yep.
Oh boy.
Marianne giggled.
Okay.
Come on, guys. It's a sunny day. Let's play outside, okay?
Okay.
Oh, great! Exclaimed Karen. I have a new doll. Daddy bought her for me. She hasn't been out in the sun much yet because she'll sunburn. She's very fair. I think she should get a tan, don't you? Dolls can tan, you know. Of course, they're real anyway. They can do whatever people do. They can draw and break dance and
What the fuck is happening?
They tell you to murder small animals.
they can get married just like people. They can do things if you want them to. You know what I mean. I didn't add breakdancing. That's in the book.
And the tanning.
And the
It's in
tanning.
the book.
Marianne was beginning to feel dizzy from the chloroform. Want to play outside, Andrew? Yep. Marianne
You're going
took
to be
the
our
kids.
new doll.
Marianne took the kids into Watson's big backyard. Andrew brought the wagon and pushed Boo Boo around in it. Is he allowed to do that? Marianne asked Karen. Your father said not to touch Boo Boo. Oh, he meant you shouldn't touch Boo Boo. You're a stranger. But Boo Boo,
outsider.
but an outsider. But Boo Boo knows us, the greater good. He wouldn't hurt us. Karen pushed for a breath. Karen paused for a breath and went on. You see that house, the one next door? Marianne peered over Watson's rose garden in between the trees. Next door was a castle. Oh, well, actually, it was a sprawling Victorian mansion.
Wait, oh. You stopped in the middle of a sentence. With gables and turrets and wooden curlicues on the porch. The paint was peeling and one shutter was crooked. Marianne said later that it looked dark and scary. Yes, she said to Karen, that's where the witch lives, right, Andrew? Andrew plowed the wagon into a tree and Boo Boo leaped out. Yup. It's Mrs. Porter, and she's an honest and truly witch. Mrs. Porter isn't her witch name, though. Her witch name is Morbida Destiny.
What?
Holy fuck.
It's also her porn name. The big kids on the street told me so. And she eats toads and casts spells and flies to witch meetings on her broomstick every midnight.
Witch meetings.
Witch meetings.
What do you think witch meetings consist of?
A lot of naked dancing at midnight.
Oh, okay.
Trading toad recipes.
I was just like, how high should our hats be this year?
Marianne stared at the house, nibbling away at her nails again. She wasn't sure what to tell Karen. If she told her the stories weren't true, she probably wouldn't get off to a very good start as a babysitter. If she agreed with Karen, she'd practically be lying to her. At last she said, do you believe in the stories about more Mrs. Porter?
More.
Karen nodded. I have proof. You do? Yep, the proof is Boo Boo.
He used to be my brother.
Mrs. Porter made him fat. One day when Boo Boo was nice and skinny, he went into Mrs. Porter's garden and dug up some of her flowers.
Mrs. Porter came out and yelled at him and threw a fit. The next day he started getting fat.
Yep, said Andrew.
So now we have to keep Boo Boo away from Mrs. Porter's house.
Andrew, I'm concerned about more than Karen.
Yeah, I know.
We don't want her to
That's like the
cast
twist.
another spell on him.
Should have been worried about Andrew this whole time.
Making him fat wasn't so bad, but she might do something really, really mean.
Well, said Marianne, we don't have to worry about it today since Mrs. Porter's not at home. And I only believe in science. And it was at that exact second that Marianne saw a window shade snap up on the first floor of Mrs. Porter's house. A wrinkled face with a big nose pressed itself against the panes of glass. Karen saw the face too.
Fully pressed.
Oh, she screamed.
That's
Smush.
Morbida Destiny. She's home after all. Where's Boo Boo? Where's Boo Boo?
Marianne began to feel afraid again. She knew there were no such things as witches. Were there? But the face at the window didn't look very friendly, and Andrew was crying, and Karen was panicking. All right. Marianne tried to remain calm. She thought about what Watson had told her.
And we all remember that, don't we?
I definitely do, but you should remind us.
Do not touch Boo Boo. Do whatever you want with the children, but do not touch.
I'll give you guys a little review.
Mhm.
What Watson had told her was that Mrs. Porter was just an eccentric old lady. I just got right past that word that time.
You did it. You did it.
I
You
didn't
did
even
it.
have to point it out.
Nice.
Who's speaking now? I can't tell. Just as she said, "Let's look for Boo Boo, you guys," she said. "We don't have to," wailed Karen. "I see him. He's..." Karen gulped. She pointed her finger. "He's in Morbida Destiny's garden now." "Well, I'll just go get him somehow,"
Monty
said
Python.
Marianne, remembering that she wasn't supposed to touch Boo Boo, let alone pick him up. "She's already gone from the window," Karen cried. "She's coming to the door. I know it." Okay, Karen. Is this Marianne here? Yes, it is. Okay, Karen. You're in charge of Andrew for a few minutes. You stay in the yard with him and watch him. I'll be right back. Marianne said her heart was pounding as she crossed Watson's yard, not the Watsons. It is a first
You
name.
could call
isn't
him
it?
Bill Watson.
She crossed Watson's yard and stood at the edge of Mrs. Porter's property. Boo Boo was about 10 feet away from her in the middle of some chrysanthemums, digging away happily.
Okay, so eccentric gives you trouble, but chrysanthemum, you're just like,
I'm just flying right past that.
shit ain't got nothing on me.
Boo Boo! Marianne called softly. She glanced at the house. No sign of Mrs. Porter. Maybe she hadn't seen Boo Boo. Boo Boo! Marianne called again. Come here! She snapped her fingers. That'll work for the cat.
Yes, cats love it.
Because they're all beat poets, you know. Boo Boo didn't even look up. Could have told you that, Marianne. Yoo-hoo, Boo Boo! Marianne stepped closer. Boo Boo sat down and scratched himself. Boo Boo, hey fat cat.
That'll get him.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on.
Over here.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out this. It says a croaky voice. Like
Like a witchy voice.
a witchy voice.
It's the witch.
Boo boo, hey fat cat.
Called a croaky voice. Marianne's heart just about stopped beating, and she fucking died.
The
end.
But then she came back to life. Yay!
But then she came back to life and whirled around. As she was whirling around, she could hear Karen shrieking in Watson's yard. Behind Marianne stood a witch.
Honest to goodness,
She told me later.
she looked just like a witch from the picture book.
Mrs. Porter, or Morbida Destiny, the stripper, or whoever she was dressed in black from head to toe. Her hair was gray and frazzly. There was a wart on the end of her nose.
Played by
She was-
Helena Bonham Carter.
She was carrying what Marianne at first mistook for a broom, but turned out to be a cauldron. I mean a rake.
That fat cat
Said Mrs. Porter, shaking the rake with every word.
is digging up my mums. I know, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get him out for you.
Marianne decided to forget Watson's warning. She stepped right into the garden and reached for Boo Boo. Boo Boo hissed and swiped at her with his paw, claws extended. Marianne jumped back.
That does it, girlie.
Said Mrs. Porter. She jumped into the garden and waved the rake at Boo Boo. Boo Boo's eyes opened wide. He leaped over a bush of golden mums and streaked away, balls bouncing.
So he hasn't been neutered
No,
yet?
he hasn't been neutered.
Luckily, he streaked back into Watson's yard. Mrs. Porter shook her rake after him. Rapscallion, she cried. Rapscallion! She headed for her house.
She's 300 years old.
Marianne could hear her muttering things like children and pets and darned nuisance. Back in Watson's yard, Karen greeted Marianne tearfully. Did you hear that? It was a curse. What was? Rapscallion? Marianne asked, looking nervously over her shoulder at the
Good.
chrysanthemum bed.
Good one, Marianne.
Yeah. No, that wasn't a curse. That's a real word. It's a perfectly cromulent word. She was calling Boo Boo a name, but she did not put a spell on him. Are you sure? Positive. Right, Andrew? Yep. All right, that's pretty smart, Marianne.
All right.
Always get back up there.
Good one.
I don't know, said Karen. I don't know. Look, Marianne went on.
Karen's
Did
now
you
30.
see? Did you see more, Mrs. Porter?
More.
Mixing up herbs or looking for bats' feet? No. Did you see her crushing toadstools or stirring things in a cauldron? No. Then how do you know she cast a spell? Asked Marianne triumphantly.
Good one, Marianne.
She's a smarty.
She told her.
She's a nerd.
She's a witch. She could do anything she would. Hey! Shrieked Karen, pointing. Marianne's stomach flip-flopped. She immediately looked over at Mrs. Porter's yard. Sure, she was going to see the old woman flapping across the lawn in her funny black dress. But Mrs. Porter wasn't in sight. Karen was pointing at Boo Boo. Look at that! Cried Karen. He's going crazy. Like, the voice is going to change every fucking time.
Like 10 times.
Boo Boo did, in fact, look a little crazy, Marianne said later.
Try to hit all the regional
Yeah.
accents of
Yeah.
bad British accents.
Yeah.
He's a fucking nutter.
It's Karen Bob Hoskins.
Tones. As she watched, the cat ran partway across Watson's backyard, came to an abrupt stop, ran around in a circle, then dashed off in the direction he had just come from and scrambled up a tree. You know, like a cat.
So what our cats do every fucking morning.
Yeah.
Oh, said Marianne nervously. He's just being a cat. Cats do silly things like that all the time.
They see ghosts everywhere.
Marianne had never owned a cat, so she'd had very little experience with them, but she had once seen the Pikes' cat. Sarge, wake up from a sound sleep, leap off the couch, jump up on top of the television set, and immediately fall asleep again. Still. Boo Boo doesn't do silly things, said Karen, edging toward Marianne. He's too fat and old. Marianne took Karen and Andrew by their hands. The three of them stood and watched Boo Boo.
Take us
Boo boo.
For a while, he looked as if he might go to sleep up in the tree. Karen grew bored. Psst, she whispered after a moment.
Morbid Destiny's at a window again, and she's looking over here.
Sure enough, the old face was once again pressed against the window panes.
Eyeballs touching the glass.
Tongue swishing around. Morbida raised her right hand to her nose, and Boo Boo sat straight up, slipped, slid, and finally fell out of the tree, landed on his feet, and shot past Marianne and the kids, hissing as he went by. "Oh no!" wailed Karen. Marianne squeezed her hand. Boo Boo tore up the steps to the back porch and waited by the door. "I guess it would be a good idea to let him in," said Marianne. "At least we won't have to worry about Miss Porter's garden anymore." So Marianne opened the door and Boo Boo ran inside. He ran straight into the laundry room, jumped into the laundry basket, and stayed there for 50 years. And stayed there while Marianne and Karen and Andrew ate lunch. Every time Marianne checked on him, he peered at her through the sides of the basket and yowled. Marianne started to tell Karen that it was all just a big coincidence. But then she didn't know how to explain the meaning of coincidence, so she gave up. "Daddy, it's a spell," Karen told Watson urgently as soon as he came home. Watson laughed. "Don't be silly. There are no such things as spells, you fucking idiot." But by then, even Marianne wasn't so sure. She was very relieved to go home.
I would be.
Bop.
Oh, ba 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 ba.
Are we doing that even if it's not scary?
Yes.
Oh,
That's still our MO.
Yeah.
That's our MO. Yeah. Okay. So that was chapters 6 through 10.
We
of
did it.
Babysitters Club. We did it. Boy, what a ride. What a bunch of shit that happened to those babysitters.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. They were put through the ringer.
Oh, yeah.
So is this a theme in these books? Does it break them down into separate adventures like that in the middle of the book often, or does it usually have like one big unified story that they're
I
all
was
part
also
of?
wondering that because I don't remember.
I was even
But
defer to
other
you
one-
because
I
I've
would
never
guess
read them.
that it is set up this way.
Yes.
I
I'm
think the
pretty
other
sure
one
that
we
they-
read was based all around one particular.
It was. That was
babysitting
like
job.
that was a specific, like, it was Dawn's story.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think some of them probably focus on one person more than the others.
I
But I
Also,
would
it's a
think
pilot.
they
You gotta-
probably
you gotta
have
set it up.
chapters that involve everybody occasionally.
I do remember the other one that we read that listeners of this show have not heard yet, but they will at one point, at some point in the future, because we'll release it. I remember that that book we started skipping the diary chapters.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, towards the end we started skipping them because
Because
they
it was
had,
like impossible to read.
well, it's impossible to
Yeah.
read, and also like it had nothing to do with the story.
Mhm.
So like the story was about the ghost at Dawn's house, but then like it kept stopping.
Is Dawn even here yet? I don't
No,
think
she's not
she
even
is.
here.
Okay.
She's not like the core baby part
She
of the
hasn't
core
moved back
babysitter.
from California yet.
Yeah. She hasn't.
Boy, that's right. She sure hasn't.
Right now, Dawn's in California. She has no idea what's going on with these girls.
Let's imagine what Dawn's been doing while these crazy adventures have been
I
happening.
didn't even
been
know they have a
surfing.
club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's been surfing.
Yeah.
She's been cutting those foam. She's cutting that foam.
Cutting those
Is
foams.
that a surfing term?
Yeah, she's cutting that.
foam.
Foam
She's
cutters.
cutting that foam. She's sprawling that.
That's why she formed
Arch.
the Foam Cutters Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
The foam. The foam cutters club. All right.
Yeah, bro, let's go to the beach and cut some foam.
Chuck bra.
So really,
Come on.
the main moral of these books is collective bargaining and forming unions.
Yes.
And yeah, and children are awful.
Yeah.
Yes, and
That
children
seems
are
to
awful.
be-
Like, you would think that 12-year-olds are awful, but then there's even younger kids
Yeah.
that are so awful that they're awful to 12-year-olds.
It's great that these
That's
are like
the
these are
lesson I'm
12-year-olds, but the way that they're acting to these kids is like an adult, just like
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. Like, what do I gotta do? Oh boy.
I
Thank
was
you-
a pretty sorry.
No, no.
Just one last point. I
Yeah.
was a pretty serious kid, and even at 12, I can't imagine fucking forming a business that involved me watching over other younger people.
No.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot to handle at
That
12. I don't
feels-
think I could have done it.
I wanted to make my own detective agency.
That
It didn't
stands.
pan out.
Awesome.
I couldn't get finance.
Oh, I want to make like a cartoon that's like Muppet Babies, but it's you, and you're just like it's you with a full beard, but
You
you're
mean
a
you
little
don't sit
kid.
before us today known as the world's greatest detective?
Nope.
No.
It didn't pan out.
I feel like this
Turns out it's a lot of work.
this thing of like these preteen girls forming union and business
Mhm.
and all this shit is a very like 80s thing. Like or like 80s, maybe even early 90s, but like it just feels like a thing that existed but like doesn't anymore.
Like children
Pre-internet.
being industrious.
Children being industrious, say what?
Pre-internet.
Pre-internet. But seriously, yeah, like go out and find something to do.
Yeah.
Like be productive.
Go start a
Make
business.
money.
Go start a business,
Yeah.
make money. Like yeah,
Have a treasurer.
like this kind of thing, like lemonade stands. Like I don't think kids really do that
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-mm. They'll play a video game about it though.
Yeah, definitely. They'll play Grand Theft Auto and make a shitload of money.
Mm-hmm.
Figure that out. They'll play the stock market in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
So what's up with Jim Bartolini?
Is that what his name
I
was?
hope
Jim
he comes
Bartolini?
back.
Well,
No,
what-
it was confirmed that it was her older brother doing a prank call.
Oh,
But I still like the idea of Bernie Sanders, Jim Bartolini,
I am looking for
or
the
a guy
top
looking
1%.
or a guy looking for.
Baby
Jim
I am
Babysitters.
running for president of
Sounds-
Fucktown.
My name is Bernie Sanders.
I feel like if this was Seinfeld, there would be a real Jim Bartolini,
yes,
and he would get mixed up in it.
Yeah. Jim Bartolini. We need to
I hope that
remember that
happens.
name. We need to name someone.
Are they sitting on the babies?
That moment might even be followed by a slap bass fill. Boom, 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 boom.
No, definitely.
With a little
I'm
coughing
Jim
sound.
Bartolini. Well, that is it for this episode of Below Grade Level. Thank you for listening. Thank you, John, for
Well, thank
being
you
with
for
us.
having me.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Good. I'm glad. Because sometimes I'm like, boy, I hope people like this. We like it, but
Really, it's all an elaborate trick to get people to listen. Is we have them on the show,
So each time you
and
have
then
a
they're
guest,
tricked into
that
listening to it.
increases your listenership by
That's
one.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to be like, oh, I want to find out more about these babysitters.
I do like that doing something like this. It reduces you to that. It's like you have to normally you have to stay up to like 3 a.m. hanging out to get to that point where you're just laughing and you're not really sure what it is that you're laughing at.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really funny in these
but
books.
yeah, I was going to say, you get there real quick.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
There's a hallucinogenic quality to
At a certain
reading
point, you're
these
like,
When
books.
you're like,
What
did
if-
I just
There's
read
DMT in your
the
beer.
lump thing?
Yeah, what are the
And then
words
your brain
that
breaks.
I'm reading
Yeah.
in front of my eyeballs? I don't even understand.
Wouldn't it be weird if you guys had the listenership of people who are the right age to be reading these books? Like, wouldn't it be weird if you were like a 12-year-old
Oh,
girl
that'd
and you
be
were like,
amazing.
you know, I don't like to
Awful.
read the books.
That'd be
I listened to
amazing.
them, and they were like, oh, you do the audiobooks?
I think we'd get
no, I
shut
don't do the
down.
audiobooks.
No, yeah.
I think we'd get shut down like real quick.
I'm honestly like, we're not popular enough to be shut down.
Yeah.
I feel like if we got shut down, I'd be like,
Yeah, that honestly, getting a cease and desist from R.L. Stein would be like the greatest thing to ever happen.
I'd be
to
like, he
us.
wrote me.
Yeah.
His lawyer did.
Like that would be awesome. Like this somehow became his attention. The thing is, like Jonathan straight up tweeted at him.
Oh yeah, a
and
couple
said,
times.
"Hey, we're reading your book, your brand
Your
new one,
brand new one that just came out.
on our podcast," and no response.
No,
Got bigger fish to fry.
yeah,
Those movies.
He's gotta
Bigger
talk- he's gotta
podcast
talk
and making
Jack
fun of
Black,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
We are on iTunes and Stitcher. So subscribe to Below Grade Level on iTunes and Stitcher. Subscribe to our other shows on iTunes and Stitcher, which are The Sketchy Show, CD Reads, Movie Club. Those are all great shows that we do about different things.
Yes.
And follow us on Facebook, Cactus Rodeo. find Cactus Rodeo on Facebook and follow it for comics and podcasts and short films and
John, would you like to plug anything?
Pop Socket.
Yeah, you can find podcasts that I make. I've just gotten a new computer. So a lot of things that have been rotting on my dying laptop for months are now
Nice.
about to start coming out. So if you go to your favorite podcatcher and just search for FYIZ, you'll be able to subscribe. And coming soon, there'll be. I really wish. When will this episode be coming out? Actually, do you know?
From now, 3 weeks.
By that time, I wish I could say right now what is on the feed, but there will be lots of stuff hitting that feed very soon. So
But there is stuff on FYIZ.
there's already stuff there,
so
but
people
there
can go there and
yes.
catch up. Yeah.
But there'll be more.
In 3 weeks, who knows what you'll find?
In 3 weeks, who
It's true.
knows?
Yeah, there
We
might
could all be
like
dead.
Yeah.
fucking 50 new episodes, or we could be dead.
Right, that too.
Yeah.
One of those. And you can find a movie podcast that I do that has been on hiatus for the last several months, but we're coming back soon too. But a lot of backlog on that Movie Schmovie. You can find us on all your favorite podcatchers. And you can look for SIGHFIGH, 2 words. That's sci-fi. That's my musical stuff. You can look for that on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Bandcamp. Bandcamp.
I post on Rant Camp.
Yeah, Rant Camp or Batcan is another good one.
Yeah.
But you can look for Sci-Fi on Bandcamp or SoundCloud if you want to hear some of the little musical things I do.
Cool.
And all the music to Pop Socket Theater.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, John.
We've worked together before.
Composed and performed all of the original music for our show Pop Socket Theater, which season 1 is out. You can watch it on YouTube and Vimeo, popsockettheater.com. It's spelled very confusingly, so you should look it up. And we are currently in production on season 2, which will be out TBD. It will be out.
Yeah.
I just don't know when. We got jobs.
a lot of
I'm
work.
gonna go with 2020.
It might be 2020.
It'll be the perfect thing to cheer you up when you find out who the new president is.
That's true. Ooh, good point.
This isn't a pessimistic thing. I'm going 2021.
I'm gonna split the difference.
You're not wrong to think that.
You're
early-
To prove you
early in
wrong.
2020.
early 2021, like January 2021.
It's a lot of puppets.
So many puppets.
And I am not helping at all. So
I know, I'm
slow
getting
going.
more hand surgery in December, so
And not in that usual vague way where you're just not being helpful. This is like specific
It's
non-help.
like,
He's
yeah,
actively
it's like
not
I,
helping.
Not going to
I
help you.
did the thing I could do, and there's other things I could do, but we're not at the point where I could do those things.
It's very complicated. Who knew
Yeah.
sock puppets were so hard? Oh wait, we did. So we did it already. Oh boy. Thank you for listening, and we love you. Bye.
Bye. Below Grade Level is a Cactus Radio production. You can contact us at podcast@cactusrodeo.com. Subscribe and follow on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, and follow Cactus Rodeo on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more entertainment and updates.